BBC News at 7 o'clock. This is Matthew Carter. A 19-year-old man who inhaled laughing gas behind the wheel has been jailed for killing 3 passengers in a high-speed crash in Oxfordshire. Thomas Johnson was sentenced to 9 years and 4 months for causing the deaths of his friends Ethan Goddard, Daniel Hancock and Elliot Pullen. Elliot's aunt, Jessica Pagan-Davis, made this statement outside court.
There are no words in the English language that could possibly describe the life we now live without Elliot in it. We are determined to find strength to campaign for graduated driving licences for young novice drivers. There is overwhelming evidence that these licences will save lives. Like Elliot, Ethan and Daniel, who were killed at the hands of a young, inexperienced, reckless driver.
The government says it hasn't ruled out sending British troops into Ukraine to help train its armed forces. The Defence Secretary John Healey has been in Kyiv to discuss plans to provide more support in its war against Russia, including more weapons. He was asked about sending UK troops there for training purposes.
So we've moved some of the training closer to Ukraine, and throughout 2025 we'll also look to develop our training with them and respond to the pressures that they face and the demands that they have to meet.
Inside Ukraine, possibly?
Well, we won't discuss the detail of the plans, but we will always look to work with Ukraine. Our job's to try and give them the best possible support.
A not guilty plea has been entered on behalf of the man accused of murdering 3 young girls in a knife attack in Southport in July. Axel Rudakabana, who's 18 and from Banks in Lancashire, failed to reply after being asked for a plea at Liverpool Crown Court. A senior counter-terrorism officer has warned of a smouldering terrorism threat in the UK. Vicky Evans said in the past 12 months, officers had disrupted 3 intended terrorist attacks in the late stages of planning. Here's our UK correspondent, Daniel Sanford.
Deputy Assistant Commissioner Vicky Evans referred to some of the recently disrupted terrorism plots as goal line saves. She described the terrorism threat as smouldering, with the greatest concerns about Islamist extremism, but with the extreme right and threats from hostile states also making up a significant part of the caseload. She said the fall of Bashar al-Assad in Syria has added to the concerns because instability and chaos can create a space for acts of terror. And she said she was alarmed by the young age of people being drawn into violence, radicalised online.
The, in effect, leader of Syria, Ahmed al-Shara, has said that the country is exhausted by war and is not a threat to its neighbours or to the West. In an interview with the BBC in Damascus, he called for sanctions on Syria to be lifted. Ahmed al-Shara led the lightning offensive that toppled the Assad regime less than 2 weeks ago. The author and illustrator of the Topsy and Tim series of children's books has died, aged 96. In a statement, Jean Adamson's family said she'd had a remarkable life. The weather, heavy persistent rain tonight in Wales and much of England, but clearer elsewhere. That's the BBC News. It's 3 minutes past 7.
On BBC iPlayer.
3, 2, 1...
I'm absolutely buzzing, I am.
Oh, that's champion.
We've got Christmas sorted.
OK, look in the sack, quick.
Can we?
Well, I can't believe what I'm seeing here.
Oh, a Wallace onesie.
Brand new Gavin and Stacey, Gladiator Celebrity Special, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, and loads more.
Well, come on.
Tidy. Christmas on BBC iPlayer.
This is 5 Live Sport
with Steve Crossman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
2 League Cup quarter-final commentaries tonight. A really mixed season for Eddie Howe so far, but that won't matter if Newcastle end up winning at Wembley.
We know we have such a powerful force at home with our supporters. And yeah, I think when you play these games, the cup games, the one-off games and an opportunity for a semi-final, we hope that that's something that can lean the game in our favour.
They face Brentford, who've never reached a major final, at 7:45. On 5 Sports Extra at 8, Simon Rusk takes charge of Southampton for the first time against Liverpool.
Another tough game coming up, an exciting one. So I think the role for me was to organise a group of staff, organise the players to prepare and perform as well as we can in what's a really exciting game.
Arsenal face Crystal Palace in the other tie this evening, and we'll be asking what next for Marcus Rashford.
This kind of club needs big talent, and he's a big talent. So you just need to perform at the highest level, and that is my focus. I just want to help Marcus.
This is 5 Live Sport
with Steve Crossman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Good evening. Welcome along to Wednesday's 5 Live Sports. So Newcastle against Brentford here on 5 Live from 7:45. League Cup quarter-final evening. Southampton Liverpool's on 5 Sports Extra. That one kicks off at 8. Then there's Arsenal Crystal Palace, the other game tonight. That's at 7:30. So we'll keep you right up to date with that. And we're going to be on air through until 10:30. So we'll react to it all before Tony Livesey takes over on 5 Live. There's also 2 games in the Women's Champions League this evening. Arsenal Bayern Munich kicks off at 8. And Barcelona versus Manchester City is very much underway. Sarah Mulcairns.
Into the second half, Steve. It's Barcelona 2, Manchester City 0. Claudia Pina fired the hosts ahead just before the break, and Aitana Bonmati has just got their second. Strong run through the middle. Uhabi was tracking back. However, Bonmati was able to stick it through the legs of Keating in the City goal. Barcelona, they have been dominating. 21 shots, 13 of them on target. City have had just 2 long-range efforts so far in the game. And importantly, now with that 2-goal cushion for Barcelona, it means that it is Barcelona who are top of the group and not Manchester City. City have to avoid a 2-goal loss if they want to go top. So work to do for Manchester City if they want to end up top, but it is Barcelona 2, City 0.
Thank you, Sarah. We'll also be in Riyadh later ahead of Saturday's World Heavyweight title rematch between Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury. We'll be back and forth to the World Darts. That's at the Alexandra Palace. And around about 7:30, we're going to get more on the news that's broken tonight that Sergio Perez has left Red Bull. So loads to get through. By the end of the evening, we will know 3 of the 4 semi-finalists for the League Cup. So we'll start at St James's Park. Newcastle Brentford, full commentary here on 5 Live at 7:45. 2 teams, Ian Dennis, who would just love nothing more than a major trophy.
Which, yes, you're quite right. Newcastle United are unchanged. I said half an hour ago in the sports desk that the team news would be interesting. Newcastle are unchanged, but Brentford have made 5 alterations from the side that lost at Chelsea. So Dubravka's in goal, Livramento, Cher, Byrne and Hall for Newcastle. Tonali, Guimaraes, Joelinton, Murphy, Isak and Gordon. That's the Newcastle starting 11. But for Brentford, and Mbumo's only on the bench, they've got Flecken once again in goal. Vandenberg, Pinnock and Mee, who incidentally has started every other of the 3 previous rounds in the League Cup. Ayer and Lewis Potter, Janelt, Yarmouk, Carvalho, Sharda and Visser.
Delighted to say that alongside Ian for commentary is Chris Waddle. Hiya, Chris.
Hiya.
I just hope, Ian, and I don't know if it'll be before the game or after the game or during the commentary, we get to hear Chris say those immortal words, "I'll tell you a story, right?"
Not at the minute you're getting one.
Oh, right. Well, we'll get one, I'm sure.
You will get one later on.
All right, we'll wait.
I've actually got a story for Chris.
Go on.
No.
Well, no, I've got to do it in commentary because it's part of that floodlit fact of the day.
All right,
but it actually involves Chris, so I'm looking forward to telling that in a lull during the game.
Well, maybe we won't have any lulls, Chris. Maybe it's going to be jam-packed action throughout. The team news is interesting, isn't it? With Newcastle going super strong and Brentford making a couple of changes.
Yeah, I mean, some teams do that. We know that they rest players or sort of rest them, but they travel up on the bus or the plane when they come up. I don't know how they got here, but they sit on a bench and they may go on after 10 minutes if there's an injury or the team's not working out. So I don't get why they don't start them and take them off if the results go their way. But we've got that Newcastle same team basically, and they're at home. The fans expect tonight. It's Brentford. They played each other a couple of weeks ago. Brentford won. I watched the game. There was nothing between them, I've got to say. But Newcastle being at home, I've got to say, they'll just edge it for me.
As an 8-year-old local, which you were when Newcastle last won a trophy, Fairs Cup, can you remember that? Back then, when the very last time Newcastle won anything? There'll be loads of Newcastle fans who don't remember it at all.
Yeah, I remember it as a kid, at school, and everybody was in the playground and everybody wanted to be so-and-so, and to win it was just sort of, because it did well in the FA Cup in the 50s and that, so it was sort of expected, I think, Newcastle to lift trophies, but I don't think people expect to wait so long before they lifted another one. You did miss out that when I was at Newcastle, we did go to Japan and win the Japan Cup.
Sorry, that's my fault, Chris.
Yes,
I should have mentioned that.
And now, unfortunately, I had to be the man who had to carry the trophy off the plane at Newcastle Airport in front of quite a few actually on the rooftop supporting. And it was a little ornament which was totally embarrassing. and I had to, Arthur Cox made me walk off the plane with his figurine walking off the plane onto the tarmac where the fans obviously cheered and went mad, which I was totally red, and it was a little bit embarrassing. But that was the last thing I remember them actually winning, is a cup.
7:09 Ian Dennis, first great Chris Waddle story. Or to be fair, Ian, I think that's much less embarrassing than when, do you remember Newcastle won the Intertoto Cup and Scott Parker basically carried round a laminated sheet of paper from memory?
Well, yeah, because the Intertoto Cup was never a trophy, was it? Because you had 3 winners of that. Well, you certainly did when from my memories of it, but listen, everybody knows what it would mean for Newcastle United to win a trophy. I mean, when the final is played on March the 16th, and I can still remember the levels of excitement when Newcastle United played Manchester United in 2023. If Newcastle do get back to the final again, and they've only been runners-up twice before, it'll be 70 years since their last domestic major trophy. So you can only imagine the levels of excitement if they were to go that. But the thing is that they've still got to get past this. The Brentford could be tricky tonight. Yep. Everyone talks about their away form, but he's made 5 changes. That might lull a few people into thinking, we were saying before we came on air, Ben Mees started in every League Cup tie. So you never know what Thomas Frank's like. Thomas Frank might have said to these players, he might be owing them a sense of commitment, saying, look, this is the competition you're going to play in. Go out and prove me wrong while you're not in the Premier League. So that the players that have come in might well have a point to prove. Obviously, there's no extra time. So if they're still in the tie, you've got Mbumo and Damsgaard maybe to come off the bench. And then whoever gets through, you've still got to try and get past, a two-legged semi-final.
I've got to say, I watched Newcastle Brentford the other week, and Brentford won the game yesterday. But Newcastle, you know what they'll do? They'll come out the blocks 100 mile an hour, the crowd right behind them. But Brentford don't expect that and go a goal down early on. You obviously done your homework, but if they can weather the storm, Newcastle do normally come off the pace after about 35 minutes and then 75 minutes in the second half. And if they're still in the tie, then Brentford will believe that they can go through.
Also, Chris, you can kind of chuck the changes out the window in there. If you just look at the 11 that actually is playing for Brentford, there's still goals in that team, very much so.
Definitely. The way Brentford play, we know how drilled they are, set pieces, well organised. I just feel that they're going to come here tonight, and if they don't meet the atmosphere and they don't meet the tempo of the game, how it's going to commence, then they could be like 1 or 2 down after 20 minutes, and then you start thinking you're chasing. It's not your game to come out and leave gaps, and then Newcastle exploit that. If you're Brentford, you've got to come out the blocks quick and match Newcastle. Don't give them anything in the first 20 minutes, and then you'll see Newcastle gradually come off the pace, and that's where Brentford could take charge. But looking at the 2 teams tonight and looking at that previous game I watched the other week, I cannot see Newcastle not winning tonight. I cannot.
What do you think of their season, Newcastle, so far?
Well, Newcastle's Newcastle. Listen, they get big changes in the summer. We know the play. The fans demand how they play. They want to entertain. They want to be on the front foot. I feel sorry for the 2 centre-halves, Burn and Shea, at times, because they get isolated. Instead of having a midfield player who sits in front and protects, they don't. The 3 guys, whoever he plays in midfield, Gimenez, Joe Linton, whoever, Tonali, they all follow the ball. They go and they want to get involved, and that's why I think Newcastle do, when they come up against decent opposition, they do get caught out a lot, and there's something not right. They're great to watch. I know that's how Newcastle want to be playing. The fans do anyway. But if you're going to talk about winning trophies, I think you're too open.
I think, Ian, Jacob Murphy's such an interesting player, and he obviously scored the other day, but in some ways he is, and maybe you could put somebody like Dan Burn into this box as well, the kind of player that obviously do their best for Newcastle and often produce good performances, but at the same time they are a little bit a symbol of what Eddie Howe was talking about this week, this idea that the speed of the journey at Newcastle has been dramatically affected by financial restrictions.
Yeah, I mean, they might be one of the richest club, they might have one of the richest owners in the world, but they're not one of the richest clubs in the world, because they're unable to do what Manchester City did back in the day and go out and spend here, there and everywhere. They are now hamstrung, like so many clubs, through the financial fair play restrictions. And it's interesting you mentioned Murphy, because we were speaking to one of the local journalists before we came on air, and before he scored the 2 goals at the weekend, he was saying that the locals were actually on his case here inside St James's Park at the weekend. He scores 2 goals, and then all of a sudden, he's the next best thing since sliced bread. He's done well of late, I've got to say. And your question to Chris, I thought in the intro when you said the hit and miss, I think that would be a fair reflection of Newcastle's season so far, and only probably in the last couple of games have they hit the high standards that Eddie Howe is looking for in the games, and the performance against Liverpool where I was here, and obviously the result against Leicester where I wasn't at the weekend.
And that's the importance of tonight, Chris, isn't it? The needle has been bouncing around for Newcastle. Every time I think we're going to do a really positive Newcastle chat, they have a big defeat, and vice versa is true as well. Like the other day, they come up with a big win. A cup semi-final, a cup final again. That's how they turn the needle now, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got, let's be honest with Newcastle. They're exciting, but they're so unpredictable. I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen. Tonight, you're looking at it on paper. Yes, Newcastle, same team basically as the weekend. Got a result. Ahmad Leicester, let's be honest, could have been a lot more than what it was. Far too good for them. They're playing against a team who's well organised, well drilled. Everybody here, I would say 99.9% will be thinking Newcastle go through tonight. But you just don't know what's going to happen with them. The way they play, they love to play in the front foot. They leave gaps. If they don't score, they can get punished quite easily. So when you watch Newcastle, yes, it's exciting, and that's what they want up here. But to win trophies, you've got to have consistency, and Newcastle don't have it.
7:45 kick-off. Ian and Chris bringing you full commentary of Newcastle versus Brentford League Cup quarter-final night. 3 of the ties this evening on 5 Live Sport. We'll bring Ian and Chris back in shortly as well when we talk about Marcus Rashford after his comments in the last couple of days. Ruben Amorim has been reacting to that today. We've had a goal in the Champions League in that game between Barcelona and Manchester City. Sarah Mulcahy.
It's Barcelona 3, Manchester City 0. Alexia Putellas on the pitch, a matter of seconds. City giving the ball away. Putellas on the ball, cut through the middle, got a low shot away to the left and fired it past a flat-footed keeper in Keating in the City goal. It's Barcelona 3, City 0.
Over on 5 Sports Extra this evening, we'll bring you full commentary in the League Cup of Southampton versus Liverpool. Kicks off at 8 o'clock. Heck of a start for an interim manager, Chris Wise.
Oh my word, for Simon Russ tonight, taking on the charge after the dismissal of Russell Martin at the weekend. And of course it may well be his only game in charge of Southampton, because the noises are that he's not going to have a chance of getting this job on a permanent basis. He's the under-21 manager. We know he's got a bit of experience from his time with Stockport City, and obviously he's taken charge of plenty of youth teams along the way, most notably Brighton and Hove Albion. But tonight he's got to somehow try and pull the magic of the cup together all in 90 minutes, because it's the team at the very bottom of the Premier League table, and they've got to see off the team at the very top.
Delighted to say Chris has got a proper Southampton legend with him in Francis Benali. Evening, Franny.
Good evening, Steve.
Do you know, before we do anything else, I'm just really curious, what are your thoughts about the events of the last 48 hours?
Yeah, I guess in some ways, there was a lot of talk around it, wasn't there? Just purely given the fact that Southampton was sat bottom of the table on 5 points, having only won 1 game so far this season. With each game that went by, there was always that increase in pressure and discussion about Russell's future. And I guess I was here the other night in the Spurs game, and I was literally just wriggling into my seat, and then within a matter of seconds, Spurs are 1 up, and it just went badly wrong downhill from there. And I think there was almost like no coming back from there. A number of reasons, I think, in the bigger picture, and it's probably a bigger discussion, but I think one factor which everybody spoke about was Russell's sort of determination to stick with his philosophy and his style of football, and not looking to tweak that from what was so successful in the Championship last season has been a difficult watch in the Premier League this year.
Chris, it sounds like interesting weather there. Are those the winds of change we can hear?
Yeah, they've been blowing pretty hard since August around these parts, Steve. I've got to tell you that. The weather's pretty grim actually. It's drizzly, it's windy, and actually the weather conditions are so adverse that the man alongside me had an accident on the way to the stadium tonight. Didn't you?
Chris was quite amused when I told him that. I thought I'd just get a little wriggle on to get into the stadium tonight, and where I parked, I had a little bit of a jog, and in the dark I had a brolly under one arm, my hand in the other pocket, and I tripped on one of those pop-up parking posts, and I've gone sprawling, and I'm injured. I'm just showing Chris my injury now. Obviously the viewers on air won't be able to see it, but I've got a nice gash on my palm of my hand. So
this is an ultra marathon man as well. Remember, I think how many miles Franny Benali's done for charity over the years, and he's tripping over parking posts on the way to his favourite stadium.
How do we describe you now, Franny? Are you 50-50? Are you facing a late fitness test? What is it?
Definitely a late fitness test,
right.
But I'm not getting any sympathy from my my co-host.
Well, you want to be careful, Chris, otherwise you'll be commentating on your own.
Well, there is that. Yeah, there is that. Shall I give you a little bit of team news,
please,
Steve? Because there's some quite interesting bits and pieces to run through tonight. So I think it's probably best to begin with Liverpool, actually, and tell you who is not here. And when I say not here, not in the squad at all. So that is Salah, Van Dijk, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch and Diaz. They're not in the Liverpool squad tonight. Andy Robertson's suspended, as we know. So from the weekend, 8 changes from that Fulham team. The only 3 that remain are Alexander-Arnold, Gomez and Gakpo. So for Liverpool, Kelleher in goal, Gomez, Endo, Kwanzaa and Alexander-Arnold we're expecting to start at left back, and then in midfield Morton and McAllister. Harvey Elliott's making his first start of the season. Gakpo's in the team tonight. Trey Nioni, the 17-year-old, first Liverpool start for him this evening, and Darwin Núñez. A lot of talk about him and his below par performances recently. He's leading the Liverpool line tonight. For Southampton, 3 changes from that mauling by Spurs here on Sunday. In come Bree, Wood and Archer. Out go Walker-Peters, who's not in the squad, Armstrong and Sulemana. So McCarthy in goal, Bree, Harwood, Bellis, Bednarek, Wood and Manning, and then Downs, Fernandez, Aribo, the very talented Dibbling and Cameron Archer.
So just before we come on to Liverpool then, Franny, this is a new Southampton, it's a new manager, albeit an interim manager. On paper, does that look different to you, and what do you want to see different than what's come before?
Well, if you're a Saints player or a supporter, you're looking at that team sheet with optimism for sure. You know, clearly you're in a very difficult place as a club and looking for results and performances, but anyone within that Saints dressing room this evening will be looking at that, and Simon Rusk, in charge of his first game at this level, will be given a little bit of a boost, I would imagine, not seeing the big guns or quite so many of them, even so, having said that, there's still quality within this Liverpool side that's full of confidence and a huge amount of talent as well.
I wonder, actually, in some ways, Franny, whether of all the managers tonight, and to be fair, you could put Mikel Arteta in this bracket, but maybe Arne Slot had the most difficult decision to make, because this is ultimately, obviously, their third most important competition that they're currently playing in. Put the FA Cup, obviously, to one side until the start of next year.
Yeah.
And yet he will know, just like Jose Mourinho, Chelsea back in the day when he started, if you can start with a League Cup, with winning a League Cup, you can really accelerate what is a very important season.
Well, again, clubs like Liverpool, silverware is part and parcel of the objectives at the beginning of each season, and it's very much, there's always going to be the tweak to the lineup, wouldn't it? It's always going to be to what degree though, and it's a huge amount of changes, very much getting off to a start and winning a piece of silverware would help any manager, let alone somebody like Arne Slot coming into a club the size of Liverpool.
Chris, just remind me how many changes for Liverpool?
Yeah, 8 tonight.
All right, 8 for Liverpool.
8 for Liverpool, 3 for Southampton. And a quirky little stat for you. Actually, both the managers who were on the touchline for these two clubs at the weekend, they're not going to be down there tonight. Russell Martin sacked, and Arne Slot is serving a touchline ban this evening. So Sipke Holshoff, his long-time assistant, will be looking after things. So a very different feel to those two technical areas this evening.
Right, so 8 for Liverpool. What about Arsenal? And indeed Crystal Palace, John Southall.
Steve, good evening. This is a very interesting team for Arsenal. I think this is a bit of a gamble actually from Mikel Arteta tonight with his 11. He's made 8 changes from the draw with Everton. So let me tell you who he's left out tonight. Gabriel, Saliba, Lewis Skelly, Ødegaard, Rice, Saka, Martinelli and Havertz. 7 of those are on the bench. Rice is not fit. And in comes Kieran Tierney. Remember him? His first start since the 14th of May 2023. Last appearance August of that year. Also in Partey, Kirill, Trossard, Jorginho and Wanreri, Sterling and Jesus. Palace made just the 1 change from that winner Brighton. Caleb Kapora makes just his second appearance, his first start, and he replaces the suspended Daniel Munoz. But I think, Steve, those 2 team selections makes it very, very interesting here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are 3 of the 4 League Cup quarter-final ties. These are of the three obviously being played this evening. So John Southall will keep us up to date with Arsenal Palace. That one kicks off in just over 5 minutes' time. Our commentary at 7:45 from St James's Park is Newcastle versus Brentford, and on 5 Sports Extra in full, Southampton versus Liverpool from St Mary's. Now, Manchester United manager Ruben Amorim's been speaking today about an interview that Marcus Rashford gave to Henry Winter earlier this week, in which he said he's ready for a new challenge. Remember, Rashford was left out of the Manchester United squad for the win at Manchester City. Rashford also said, if I know that a situation is already bad, I'm not going to make it worse. I've seen how other players have left in the past. I don't want to be that person. When I leave, it'll be no hard feelings. You're not going to have any negative comments from me about Manchester United. That's me as a person. So let's hear from Amorim, asked specifically about Rashford saying he's ready for a new challenge.
I think he's right. We have here a new challenge. It's a tough one. For me, it's the biggest challenge in football because we are in the difficult situation. And I already said that this is one of the biggest clubs in the world, so this is really a new challenge and the biggest one. And I hope all my players are ready for this new challenge. What I want is to take the best of Marcus Rashford as all the players. So I don't talk about the future, I just talk about the present. I want the best of each one of them. And that is the key point for me. I just want to win and to help the team to be better. So we are better with Marcus Rashford, and that's simple. And we'll try different things to push Marcus to the best level that he's shown in the past. So that's all. This kind of club needs big talent, and he's a big talent. So you just need to perform at the highest level, and that is my focus. I just want to help Marcus.
OK, that's Ruben Amorim. So we've got Ian Dennis and Chris Waddle with us from St James's Park. Let's also bring in our chief football news reporter, Simon Stone. Simon, obviously Amorim's got a lot of praise. He's won a lot of fans for his messaging and how he speaks and what he says. He's been given a big issue to deal with here.
He certainly has. Although he's clearly not scared of confronting it. He said in that press conference that he would assess both Alexandro Garnacho, who was also left out of the Manchester City game, obviously without the interview yesterday, and Marcus Rashford on training today when we spoke to him this morning. And as it turns out, Garnacho is definitely in the squad, but it looks as though Rashford isn't. Now, we're not absolutely certain, but the majority, or all, certainly enough players got on the train to London at Stockport. Rashford was not part of that party. It is possible that he got on another station, but as I say, there were enough players getting on at Stockport that you wouldn't need any more players. We've not had any confirmation from Manchester United that Rashford is definitely not there, and if he isn't there, why he's not there, because the other kind of mystery around all this is that you're right, Marcus Rashford spoke to Henry Winter yesterday at a school visit, but on Monday he didn't train because he wasn't well. So we don't know whether he did train today, but it does appear as though he's not going to be part of the squad at Tottenham tomorrow, and that means more questions for Ruben Amorim, who is having to kind of navigate his way through this kind of first major Manchester United issue since he's been head coach, with this uncertainty over one of the best paid players at the club and probably the most high profile player at the club.
And Simon, it's one thing for Marcus Rashford to say it, obviously. The other question is what is the market for Marcus Rashford? Because he's not going to be given away.
Well, this is the issue. I mean, Manchester United, we all are well aware, in profit and sustainability terms, they're kind of in a tricky situation. You're right. What is the market? Certainly in January, what is the market? PSG get mentioned a lot with Marcus Rashford. Every time I've spoken to them about Marcus Rashford, they kind of distance themselves from it, and nothing has really changed in conversations that I've had with them over the last 24 hours. People talk about Saudi Arabia, but does Marcus Rashford at the age of 27 really want to go to the Saudi Pro League? Who's got money in Europe? Well, we know Real Madrid have deep pockets, but They've got Kylian Mbappe that they're trying to assimilate into a squad that's also got Vinicius there and Jude Bellingham. Atletico bought Julian Alvarez at the start of the season. We know Barcelona can't register the players. Danny Olmo, we're not certain that they're going to be able to register him for the second half of the season. So that seems unlikely. So then we're in England. Well, it's difficult to see him going to Liverpool or Manchester City. So then where are we looking? And maybe Tottenham, but would Tottenham pay the amount of money that he's on, over £300,000 a week? That's a bit of a stretch. So would he take a pay cut to go? Would Manchester United give him away? But if they're kind of taking a reduced amount of money, that's going to affect what they get in PNS terms. So it is not straightforward at all, that while it may be better for all parties for Rashford to move on, it's not certain where he can move on to.
I love that we're having this discussion as the Christmas music just absolutely booms out from St James's Park. It's perfect. Chris, what do you think?
Listen, I'm a believer that Marcus Rashford has got. We know he's a talented footballer. He's probably been playing for a lot of football over he's 27. He's been playing a lot of football over the years for, let's be arguably say, the biggest football club in the world. So if you want to challenge, do you not want to put Man United back on the map? I don't get that. There's no bigger club than Man United in my eyes, globally. Now, what I've got to say also about it is, we've seen players over the years, right? Everybody sees undoubted talent, and Real Madrid won him, and Paris Saint-Germain won him, and so-and-so won him, and so-and-so. Listen, he hasn't. They're going to look and think, why is he never consistent? Why does he have a great year and a terrible year and another terrible year, then an average year, then a good year? So they're going to say, what makes everybody saying he's got to come to Paris Saint-Germain and Real Madrid? Because he's got talent, yes. Has he used it? No. Let's go over the years. How many players are we talking about like this? Dele Alli, Ross Barkley. I remember when he was younger. How many? There's a list of players we can talk about who've got unbelievable talent. Now, just because you've got that much talent, it's what's upstairs, right? And if you haven't got it upstairs, well, who's going to buy him? Why would somebody splash out 100 million quid? Let's be honest, if Jack Grealish is worth 100 million quid, he's worth more, right? Pretend on ability-wise. So why would somebody splash out 100 to 110, 20 million for somebody what they don't know what they're going to get? And if you upset him a little bit, what happens then? You're stuck with a player on a long-term contract on a fortune. Now, you know, he's got a challenge in front of him where he could roll his sleeves up and say, I'm becoming the Man United legend here. I'm going to help this club get back where they should be. That is the challenge. No, I need a new challenge. That's the easier way out for me.
Having said it, though, Chris, is it now impossible for him to go back, really?
No. Roll his sleeves up. Say, look, I've been there, whatever reason, whatever it's been. He scored 30-odd goals. Was it 32 goals 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Well, what's happened to that then? Now, is it the team played bad, or has he really knuckled down and committed himself to the Man United shirt? I would say not. I've got to say, because of his ability, he should be winning games for Man United nearly every week. He should be like unplayable. You know, when people talk about Mbappe, yeah, he's having a hard time at Real Madrid. But what a great player he is. And every week he's trying to be the best player in the world. And Marcus Rashford's got unbelievable. I think he's an unbelievable footballer when he's on his game. But it's too easy for people to say he's not interested. And I'll say it myself, I watch him some games, I think, he doesn't want to play. Just stand on it. I don't want to be here. Now, he's got to look at himself, I think, because he's definitely got the talent, definitely got the ability, but we don't want to see it go past the wayside like a lot of other players have, who we've raved about over the years.
I know, Ian, he said that, you know, he still wants to be an England player, etc., and actually hold that thought, because we've had a goal in the League Cup. It's come at the Emirates. John Southall.
Wow, what a start. Arsenal 0, Crystal Palace 1. We said it was a bit of a gamble, this team, from Mikel Arteta. Jean-Philippe Mateta with the goal, muscled his way past Kiwior and tucked it into the bottom right-hand corner. There are thousands of Palace fans in the lower tier, and they are going berserk. Arsenal 0, Crystal Palace 1.
Ian, is the market for Marcus Rashford much less likely these days to be those top European clubs and more likely to be somewhere like Saudi Arabia?
Yes, probably. But, I mean, he talks about a new challenge. How is that facilitated? Because, you know, when Simon was talking there and he's talked about Paris Saint-Germain, long-time admirers of Rashford, apart from that, you're either thinking Turkey or Saudi Arabia, because, I can't see on his current form one of the top clubs coming in for him. And also, Manchester United are in a power of strength because he only signed his new deal last year. So he signed a 5-year deal that means he's committed to Old Trafford until 2028. So Manchester United now can expect to be in a very strong bargaining position should anybody come in for him, whether it be from Saudi, Turkey or France or wherever.
Yeah. And I have to ask as well, Chris, has he not made it very, very difficult for his manager to pick him now? We've only just finished talking about how, impressed we were with seeing how Amorim was, ruthless in his selections and all that kind of thing.
No, I actually think that he is a talent. Listen, he's a very good footballer, but it's obviously something, what he thinks, whether he's been at the club, whether he thinks, he's one of them players who can't get dropped, he's too big. Has he grew too big? But why does he not go on the park and enjoy it or enjoy football? I don't get that. I've never got that. But listen, Marcus Rashford 2 years ago when he scored 32 goals, was it 31, 32? I don't know what he got, something like that.
Over 30, yeah.
Yeah. He gets in that team week in, week out, and he plays.
Yeah.
You've got a new manager who's trying to get a bit rhythm going. Great win at Man City for them. He should be thinking, I want to be part of this. I can see something happening here. I want to be on that team. And he would get the shirt because he is that good. But if he's talking about, doubting, he's doubting himself, never mind the club. So I wouldn't pick a player who's in the right frame of mind. So, he's got to sort himself out, and he's got to say, that is a massive challenge. Play for Man United, make them great again.
And all of this ahead of another commentary on 5 Live Sport tomorrow night for Manchester United at Tottenham in their League Cup quarter-final. We're on air, of course, from 7 o'clock. Much more from Ian and Chris to come shortly. We're only 9 minutes away from kick-off at St James's Park. And as you've just been hearing, Arsenal 0, Crystal Palace 1, the latest score in the 7:30 kick-off in these League Cup quarter-final ties. Back to football shortly. Let's go around some of the other stories first. It's the 4th night of action at the World's Darts Championship at the Alexandra Palace, and James Gregg is there.
Yeah, it's quite the lineup that we've got in store this evening as well, Steve. Good evening to you. No afternoon session today, so it's the 12th seed Nathan Aspinall who is the headline act today. He's rounding off the evening later against Leonard Gates, who knocked out Atiri Cameron Menzies on Monday night. Before then, blink and you might miss rapid Ricky Evans in action. Former BDO winner Christian Kiss, knocked out by Luke Littler last year, who wasn't. Also in action, as is Jim Williams, kicking off proceedings. He's actually on the hockey right now. He's up against Paulo Nebrida from the Philippines. It's 0-0 as things stand, 2-2 in legs. Nebrida actually chucked in a 180 with his first 3 darts of the entire match. So you can imagine the crowd went from 0 to 100 pretty quickly.
Thank you, James. In F1, Sergio Perez is leaving Red Bull after reaching an agreement with the team to terminate his contract early. Let's bring in our correspondent, Andrew Benson. That's just another way of saying they don't want him anymore, isn't it?
Basically, Steve, yeah, he had 2 more years to go on his contract in a deal that was signed quite remarkably only in May this year. And so it's it's going to raise questions about Christian Horner's judgment as team principal, because he made the decision to re-sign Perez at that point when other apparently better options were available. He's had a very poor season. He's only had 4 podium finishes, whereas Max Verstappen's won the championship with 9 victories, more than any other team on his own. And they decided that enough was enough, basically.
By this time, it's almost too late to pick up an elite driver from elsewhere. So is it likely that they're going to promote from within? Might we have a British driver in the Red Bull next season?
No British driver. It's going to be Liam Lawson, right, I believe, who did the last part of the season for their sister team, RB, as they were known this year, Racing Bulls, as it's going to be next year. Not been an especially convincing performance from Lawson. He's only done 11 Grand Prix spread over 2 seasons. And Perez himself was saying in Abu Dhabi before his termination was fully agreed that it would be very difficult for any young driver to go in against Verstappen. So it remains to be seen whether Lawson can do any better than Perez did. They passed up the opportunity to sign Carlos Sainz, who was at Ferrari this year alongside Charles Leclerc and had a strong season, because they felt that there were too many tensions between his camp and Verstappen's camp when they were teammates back in 2015 in the junior Red Bull team. That decision looks questionable now, but Lawson's the next person to be sort of thrown into the lion's den alongside Verstappen, if you like.
Very interesting. Andrew, thank you very much. F1 correspondent Andrew Benson. I'm sure there'll be more to come on that when we learn whether or not Liam Lawson is the next man in at Red Bull to race alongside Max Verstappen next season. Full-time whistle has gone in the Champions League. Barcelona, Man City, Sarah Mulcairns.
It's ended Barcelona 3, Manchester City 0. City needed to avoid defeat by 2 goals or more in order to top the group, but they were torn apart by the defending champions. City struggled to get out of their own box in the first half. Claudia Pina eventually fired Barcelona ahead just before the break. Aitana Bonmati then added their second, and sub Alexia Putellas scored their third. Barcelona had 30 shots, 17 on target in comparison to just 3 all on target for City. Gareth Taylor will be hoping that City's big stars are back from injury by the time those quarter-finals roll around in March. It is ended Barcelona 3, City 0.
There's also an 8 o'clock kickoff in the Champions League. Arsenal, Bayern Munich. Sahel Sahi.
Yeah, and Arsenal know 3 points against Bayern Munich will confirm their spot as group winners. Both teams have already qualified for the quarterfinals. However, a win for Arsenal will end the current calendar year on a real high. Since Renée Slegers, she's took charge, they haven't looked back. 10 games unbeaten in all competitions and on a current run of 7 straight victories. And tonight they have a chance to right one of the wrongs from the misfiring start to the campaign. That was a 5-2 humbling at the hands of Bayern. 3 points at full time and top spot in the group. They'll set up 2025 for Slegers and Arsenal as one to really look forward to.
Back to the League Cup quarter-finals. The Palace still lead at Arsenal. John Southall.
They do by 1-0. Lively start. Arsenal just up the tempo. They've had a few chances. Corner on the left-hand side, went across the 6-yard box and Lerma cleared it off the line. Jesus shot held by Henderson and Trossard's just smashed one over the bar. The goal, a horrible goal to give away. Came from a long ball from Dean Henderson. The defender Kiwior lost the flight of the ball. Mateta muscled him off it and finished into the bottom right-hand corner. Arsenal 0, Crystal Palace 1.
So remember, at 8 o'clock, if you want full commentary of Southampton versus Liverpool, you'll get that on 5 Sports Extra. These, though, are the sounds of St James's Park. We've got just under 5 minutes to go. Full commentary on the way. Newcastle versus Brentford, and it's no surprise, Ian, that Newcastle fans are making this a special night already.
Yep, lots of black and white flags are flying in every area of St James's Park. Got to say a special mention to the Brentford support. There must be about 1,000 of them high up in the Elysees end away towards our left. But that's not an easy journey to make, is it, Chris? You know, so close to Christmas as well.
No, I take your hat off to them. You know, as you say, it's got to be 1,000, maybe more. But fair play to them.
And also the BMX is still for sale if anybody wants a late Christmas present.
Let's have one more word on their opponents, Brentford then, Chris. We talked about some of the goals there, and Burmo on the bench is one thing, but actually Visser is the one in some ways. He's got 9 goals this season. He's got more than Isak, same as Nicholas Jackson, but he's not had quite as much coverage as him.
No, he hasn't. I mean, Isak's a terrific player. I'm a big fan of his. Yeah, but unfortunately it's not fashionable. Unfortunately, Brentford are a very good club, brilliantly run, great manager. The results to keep in the Premier League every year is a massive achievement for them, and they do everything right. And listen, it wouldn't surprise me tonight if they came here and got a result. I do fancy Newcastle, I've got to say, but it wouldn't be a surprise if Brentford won this.
As you watch the teams come out at St James's Park, you go back to the mid-80s when you were doing it, the players you played with, the Beardsleys, Keegans, McDermott, a little bit of Paul Gascoigne when he was coming through as well. None of those guys were able to win a major trophy with Newcastle United. I mean, sometimes we talk about immortality in sport. It genuinely exists, doesn't it, for these players in this team?
It does. Listen, I mean, when we came through, we were on the second in Championship. We got promoted into the Premier League, and it was about survival then. Newcastle probably a year ago, 2 seasons ago, picked very well, got in the Champions League, had a decent run in it, and they've gone a little bit downhill since then. They've you know that the sell players have not really kicked on, which everybody thought they would. Unfortunately, they're a dangerous team, we can see that, but as I said before, a while back, they're inconsistent, and you're not going to win anything if you're like that.
Newcastle, so many near misses. Brentford, no major finals. It's an absolutely massive game. They all are at this stage in the League Cup. Remember, it's Arsenal 0, Crystal Palace 1, so we've got eyes on that. We'll keep you up to date. But full commentary from St James's with Chris and Ian.
Thanks, Steve. I should also tell you about a late alteration to the Brentford side, because whilst Chris was talking with Steve about Marcus Rashford, we noticed that Van den Berg had come to the side. Looked like he'd tweaked his groin, didn't it?
Yeah, he pulls his groin and he has a big discussion with the physio and the medical staff. He goes in. He's obviously they've had a look at it in the change room, and then the next thing we know, Collins is on the team sheet.
So Nathan Collins has replaced him, and the way that they were warming up, it looked like they were going to play 4-3-3. But we'll wait now to see, because I wouldn't be surprised with Collins, Pinnock and Ben Mee if Ayer goes in as the right wing back and Lewis Potter as the left wing back, and the shape will be very similar to the side that played against Chelsea at the weekend, as there is a strong roar here at St James's Park. And Brentford are in their change strip. They've got the pink shirts and the maroon shorts, and Newcastle United are in their black and white shirts and black shorts, and they're unchanged. Dubravka's in goal, Livramento, Cher, Byrne and Hall, Tonali, Guimaraes, Joe Linton, Murphy, Isak and Gordon. And for Brentford now, Flecken, Collins, Pinnock, Mee, Ayer, Lewis Potter, Jan Elt, Yarmouk, Carvalho, Sharda and Wissa. And it is, as we thought, Chris, 3 at the back.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't work out. Yes, Mee could have played left back, possibly. But he's been playing every game as a centre-half since he's beaten Brentford, and even when he left Burnley. So, yeah, it makes sense to go what they normally play.
So referee Sam Barrett, who's wearing his ultra blue referee's jersey and black shorts, is just waiting, just checking his watch, and Brentford will be attacking the Gallagate end as the whistle blows and Brentford get us underway. BBC Radio 5 Live, also live on BBC Sounds on Sports Extra. Southampton Liverpool will be the option at 8 o'clock, as here, remember, there is no extra time. Got to be settled on the night. If they're level after 90 minutes, we go to a penalty shootout. Both sides have already gone through that route to get to this stage, the last 8, as the ball is hoisted high and Pinnock heads it up towards Carvalho, whose downward header is collected by Tonali midway through the Newcastle half. In a week where on 5 Live and BBC Sounds we'll have live commentary of the heavyweight rematch between Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury from Riyadh on Saturday night. This is the start of a busy few nights of live action on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Tomorrow we'll have the Tottenham Hotspur Manchester United League Cup tie that will then complete the last 4 lineup as Hall plays it forward to Gordon. Newcastle have started well with a nice vibrancy and tempo to their play in these opening 90 seconds. Tonali's forward ball, Gordon, central area, out towards Murphy, very much the man of the moment in field. This is Guimaraes, who's played it back towards Murphy, slides it into Guimaraes with a cutback, and the cushion header is eventually cleared by Yarmouk inside that penalty area. But Newcastle United have really picked up the initiative from the start of the game, Chris.
They have. Well, we expect that at home. Brentford changing shape. They've probably worked on a back 4 coming to this game. Now they've had to go back with 3, which they're used to playing. Isak's a massive player tonight for Newcastle. You know, the 3 centre-halves, Mee, Pinnock, Collins, are not blessed with great pace. And the one thing Isak has got is a lot of that. And his movement, I've looked already, they've played a couple of balls down the channels, asking him to run and chase it. If he gets a level with these centre-halves, he'll run away from them.
The legendary figure that is Chris Waddle is with us here on BBC Radio 5 Live as Gordon picks up the ball and drives it Ayer out onto the left-hand side. Hall's cross is blocked. A belated happy birthday as well from the weekend.
Yeah, it's hard when you're 21, but you know.
Here is Byrne. The question is, will you still need me? Will you still feed me?
Well, you've given me age away now.
Here is Cher out towards that far side. Murphy on the right corner of the area. Guimaraes. Brentford are defending very, very deep. Ball played to the right hand side of the penalty area. Murphy with a cutback. Joe Linton tries to roll. Joe Linton, shot blocked. Turned very sharply, left footed effort was blocked, but Brentford are under pressure.
Oh, well played, Sneyd. Oh, foul, definite foul.
Upended by Tonali.
Yeah, if that had been in that 20 minutes into the game, that would have been a yellow card as well, by the way. He's let it go early. I hate that when they say it's too early to book somebody, but he hasn't.
He likes a yellow card as well, Sam Barrett.
I've just looked at Brentford start, Ian, a bit lethargic again. You know, when you come here, you've got to be up for the first 20 minutes. And I looked at Brentford and they've tried to play nice, tempo, slow. It's not going to work.
Well, they're going to leave it for Flecken to take it. Flecken all in yellow. moves out of that penalty area from our left-hand side, comes across to this near side. Brentford are playing from left to right as we look. We sit low down in the main stand here at St James's Park, and he's in no real hurry to take it. He was the hero in the previous round in a penalty shootout when they knocked out Sheffield Wednesday, although he was at fault for the goal that they conceded. As he waits, everybody is gathered in the central area midway through the Newcastle half. It's a long ball which is going to one bounce and through towards Dubravka, who is still deputising for the injured Nick Pope, who's out with a knee injury. Isak to Gordon, nice little link-up play. Isak, Yarmouk slips as he tried to pull Isak back. And then a back heel away from Collins. Ayer on the cover, goes to ground as he puts the ball out of play for a throw. And Gordon wants to take it quickly on this near side. 4.5 minutes played. BBC Radio 5 Live and the BBC Sounds app. Crystal Palace already lead Arsenal by a goal to 0. 0-0 here at St James's. As Byrne to share inside the centre circle. Back with Byrne. Out to this near side, the left. Hall down the line, gets it back from Gordon. Tonali comes towards him, but Hall will pass it back to Byrne. Carvalho and Wissa try and press on that back line. Livramento, as a heavy touch, actually gets caught in possession as a result of that touch, and then the ball is hit long, too long by Collins, and it goes out of play for a throw.
When they're playing Newcastle in the press, the full-backs go right in there. They don't have to sit on the back four, they push right in. And they're leaving 2-on-2 at times at the back. The two centre-halves for Newcastle, at times I don't feel sorry for them. They get so isolated.
Here is Hall, couldn't keep the ball in play, and it'll be a Brentford throw, not quite level with the penalty area on the right-hand side. Certainly Newcastle have had a much harder route to the last 8. They've already beaten 2 sides of the Premier League in Forest and Chelsea, where lower league opposition for Brentford. As Pinnock, this could be a long throw coming in from the right.
I've noticed Brentford have slowed everything down. I mean, he basically walked from the halfway into this throw in.
Keith Andrews is already up and out, the set-piece coach, but the referee has blown his whistle. He spotted something. He's walking in the direction of Nathan Collins, the Irish international, who I think was getting in a bit of a tussle with Joel Linton. So
how many referees do you see doing this in a game? Every game?
Yeah.
Do you ever see them give a pen? Waste of time. Is it for the cameras, is it?
So if they started giving penalties,
well, why
they
don't
stop
they?
it.
Why don't they?
Pinnock waits. He'll be keeping a beady eye on those two. Once again, Joel Linton with his arms across Collins. In comes Pinnock with a long throw, headed out by Byrne. It's going to come out towards Pinnock once again, who left-footed, high ball. And Dubravka caught it and throws it out now towards Murphy. And it will go straight out of play for a throw over on that far side. Let's go to Arsenal. John Southall.
Arsenal 0, Crystal Palace 1, and Arsenal have a free kick just on the edge of the area over on the left-hand side, which will be a danger with their set pieces. Still that Mateta goal that separates us. One other chance for Palace. Sarr on the right of the area, saved by Raya. Arsenal 0, Palace 1.
The draw will take place on Thursday night after that Tottenham-Manchester United tie, and the ball numbers will be confirmed in the morning by the Football League. Semi-final ties to be played week commencing the 6th of January and then the first week in Feb. As Newcastle United, who are in the quarter-final for a 3rd season in a row. First time that they've ever achieved that, but it's still a competition where their best has ever been 2 runners-up positions in 76 and then in 2023. Livramento rolls a short ball. Murphy, right-hand side, level the area. Murphy delivers across. It's a deep one. No one is there at the far post. Ayer is able to turn. Lets the ball settle. He's closed down by Gordon, and then his clearance bounces off the knees of Sharda.
Ayer could have got rid of it 5 seconds earlier, couldn't he? But I've looked at Brentford. They're very easy. They're slowing the game as much as they can. They know Newcastle like to come out and get the crowd going. They're slowing everything down. Every set piece, they've dropped right off. I mean, look how deep they are.
Well, they boast the best home record in the Premier League, but they do struggle on their travels, as Isak looking to turn on the edge of the penalty area. He was side onto goal. Bobbled back towards Gordon, feeds it to Livramento, charges into the penalty area, right-hand side. Low cross, comes out towards Tonali! Oh, he hit that superbly. It was an instinctive right-footed shot, and there was no chance of Flecken saving that. And Tonali with an absolutely rasping drive, gives Newcastle United the lead, 1-0.
I'll tell you what, Ian, that is quality strike, by the way. It comes out of him, it doesn't come out, it doesn't roll out where you think, go on, step into it and hit it. It actually comes to him with a lot of pace, and his technique is absolutely fantastic. The goalkeeper's not going to save that, no way in a million years. No, now is too gnarly. What a great strike, and as I say, brilliant bit of skill, bit of technique. The ball comes in, it's not the best clearance, nobody goes out to challenge it, it's a weak clearance. He just hits it first time, just outside the D. Goalkeeper absolutely no chance. A lot of bodies in front of him as it comes out. What a strike. Goalkeeper doesn't save him.
Well, of course, he had that 10-month ban for breaching betting regulations. He had scored on his debut against Aston Villa, so this is only his 22nd appearance tonight. But as Tonali's name reverberates around St James's Park, his second goal for the club is the one that has given Newcastle United the lead in the 9th minute of this contest, and there was nothing that Flecken could have done about that. Here is Wissa to Schade. Brentford looking for a riposte in towards Wissa, saved by Dubravka, then he dives at the feet of Wissa, who goes to ground. Sam Burrett, the referee, has said no, and remember, there is no VAR.
Well, he's not going to give it now, but I think, tell you what, if there was a VAR, I'm glad there's not, but if there was, he may get it. I don't know why Schneid didn't shoot. He, brilliant bit of skill on the edge of the box, goes past two, lovely little flick outside the foot. It's second, it's a second. He goes past the keeper, and as he turns, the Bremner tries to get the ball off him. I think he catches his foot. Very harsh. Well, I've seen him given. And that goal going into Newcastle has been good, because Brentford now have to come out and they have to up the tempo.
Yes, because you're right, they were a little slow and slowing everything down, weren't they? Well, they've got 11 minutes in. Newcastle lead by a 0-0. Pinnock with a throw. It's a flatter throw this time. Headed out by Byrne. Headed back by Ayer. Edge of the area, it will drop for Murphy. And Murphy looks to go on the outside of Yarmouk. And he outstrips him for pace, and he continues to run forward on that far side, but then he's given away a free kick for a little push on Carvalho, and that'll be a free kick to Brentford.
Yeah, first bit was good change of pace down at race side. He got the crowd's roaring, he gets carried away a little bit, ends up giving away a silly free kick. His first touch wasn't great. Brentford have to up the tempo.
Oh, they've got another problem now. They've already lost Vandenberg in the warm-up.
Pinnock.
And Pinnock has gone down midway through his own half, and the physio's been called for. So whilst we've got a stoppage in play, this is Floodlit Fact of the Day. 1987 is part of Late Night Livesey on 5 Live. 1987, Diamond Lights peaked at number 12. Chris Waddle, what was number 1 in April 1987? Was it Mel and Kim, even, respectable, Madonna, Isla Bonita, or Benny King, Stand By Me?
I'm going to go Madonna. I'm wrong, aren't I?
Well, I went with Benny King, Stand By Me. I was wrong. You are correct.
There you go.
Very good knowledge.
Well, she wanted to do a record, me and Glenn, but we turned her down that night, if I remember right. So,
Late Night Livesey, 10:30 every night on BBC Radio 5 Live, and Chris Waddle getting Floodlit Fact of the Day correct, as Pinnock is still down and getting treatment.
Yeah, hamstring.
And we will go to Arsenal, John Southall.
Home fans very quiet. Arsenal 0, Crystal Palace 1, bit like on Saturday against Everton. Just not creating much at the moment, Arsenal. That Mateta goal still separates the two sides, and the 6,000 Palace fans are enjoying this. Arsenal 0, Palace 1.
The best bit of actually appearing last night on Late Night Livesey was when he played Deacon Blue. Just for me.
Legend.
My own personal request.
Great group.
Pinnock, I think, is going to be coming off, and Ruaslev is going to be the one who's going to be coming on. Newcastle United lead by a 0-0, so already Thomas Frank is into his second change. Ruaslev will go in as the right wing back. Ayer will move across as to one of the three central defenders. So it's another reshuffle to that back line for Brentford. They're going to have to be flexible. 13 and a half minutes in, and they'll also hope that going into the festive period these are not serious injuries.
Well, this is the problem, Ian, isn't it? I mean, look, he's wanted to make changes tonight. It's backfired on him in the first 20 minutes, hasn't it? Let's be honest. There's two, and they both look muscular injuries, so they might miss the Christmas period.
They've got Forest at home at the weekend, Brighton away on the 27th, and then on New Year's Day they're at home to Arsenal. So Thomas Frank will have something to ponder as play is back underway. Newcastle lead by 1-0, and Crystal Palace are leading Arsenal 1-0 at the Emirates. Newcastle have a throw, Livramento to take it far side in towards Tonali, the goal scorer. Sweet strike it was too. Back then with Cher, and goes further back to Dubravka. Whistle will run across that penalty area.
I'm just looking at how they're setting up now, Brentford, and they're basically playing man for man.
Here is Isak, his little layoff towards Joe Linton, tidied up by Yarmouk at the back towards Flecken, who's going to hit this ball long downfield. Little flick on by Sharda. Ruerslev makes the run in behind, unmarked on the right, chance to work over the cross, headed away by Tonali. This is only the 20th ever meeting between the two. They've met 4 times previously in domestic cup ties. Newcastle have won 3 of those 4. However, the most recent tie was when Brentford were a championship team and they knocked out Newcastle in this competition. They reached the last 4, did Brentford then, and eventually were beaten by Tottenham Hotspur. We'll have commentary of their quarter-final tie against Manchester United tomorrow night on 5 Live from 7. But Brentford haven't won in their last 8 trips to St James's Park. 90 years ago, their only victory. Harry Curtis was the manager, and Ernie Muttit scored a hat-trick in a 5-2 victory. So no one can say I've not been doing my homework. Has John Southall been doing his?
No, actually wasn't even listening to you, sorry Dano. Arsenal 0, Crystal Palace 1. Chance though for Arsenal, Raheem Sterling 20 yards out, free kick left of the D, tipped over by Henderson, and Arsenal have a free kick. Just stay with this for a second, over on the left hand side to the back post as ever, headed across goal over the bar. Arsenal 0, Palace 1.
It's the story of my life, that, John. Newcastle lead by 1-0. Brentford almost caught by playing out from the back, but Aya, who's actually gone into that central role of the back 3 now, plays it out towards Carvalho. He was caught by Cher, and Cher is going to get the yellow card for the first booking of the night.
Oh, there you go. Nearly 20 minutes. But that was no different to Tonali earlier on. No difference whatsoever.
And the way he upended Sharda, didn't he? Yeah. For that particular challenge. But you're right. 17 minutes in, there's the first yellow. Sam Burrett giving it once again quite a high line from Newcastle in their black and white striped shirts to defend this free kick. Brentford playing from left to right, so midway through the Newcastle half. I mean, that's a good 30-35 yards out from goal for Dubravka. What it does do, if Janelt can get the delivery right, if he can drop it in behind that back line, there'll be a bit of room to test Dubravka, who's standing by the penalty spot, and after all that he plays it short to Lewis Potter, who then hits it long to the right hand side of the penalty area. Aya heads it to Sharda. Carvalho tries to turn, good footwork by Carvalho, runs to the right side of the area. Aya looks to deliver the cross, it's charged down, and behind it goes for a Brentford corner where we know they're a threat.
I think they did well with that free kick. They rolled it short, didn't they? Newcastle had to drop then because of his time on the ball, so they worked that pretty well. But I would say the one thing with Brentford at the minute, it's just the tempo. They don't play quick enough for me. They let teams get a good shape against them. Yes, we know they've had some mental spells here where they've been passing it around, but they just don't play quick enough.
Well, Keith Andrews is out and he's getting his instructions across the set-piece coach. There's a lot of pink shirts that have gathered at the far post, and now all of a sudden from a cluster they've run away to the edge of the area. Now they go back in. Cher heads it up rather than away. Bouncing ball in the penalty area. Collins is there. Joel Linton flicks it, drops towards Yarmouk, heads it out towards me. Me turns, scoops over the cross. Sharda is there, ball inside the penalty area. There's a Newcastle player down. It's a head injury, and that's why there's a stoppage in play. 18 and a half minutes played. Newcastle lead by 1-0, but they're now underway at Southampton. Chris Coles.
The game is 4 minutes old. Southampton 0, Liverpool 0. This game being played in atrocious conditions, the rain pouring down, and there's a very brisk breeze blowing from left to right across St Mary's Stadium. Liverpool dominating possession. No Arne Slot on the touchline ban instead. He's watching from the press box. He's a couple of seats behind me. Southampton 0, Liverpool 0.
Now that is interesting. I thought that the yellow cards didn't carry forward from competition to competition. I was expecting him to serve that touchline ban at the weekend. Joel Linton is the player down, incidentally. Commentary of that, by the way, is on Sports Extra. Southampton against Liverpool. Joel Linton is still being patched up for a stray arm, was it, by Collins?
There's nothing in it. Collins was looking at the ball. Yeah, people raise their arms, don't you? Because that's how you jump. Well, I don't know why Joel Linton's going mad there. To me, there was nothing in that at all.
Well, he's still being tended to by the two physios. Newcastle United leading by 1-0. Interesting in this competition, and they've scored in every round. They've scored every goal in the first half. Yep. Yet in the Premier League, 8 of their 23 goals in the Premier League have only come in the first half. They've struggled for first half goals this season in the Premier League, yet not in this competition.
Cup team.
Back to John. Are you paying attention?
I am. Arsenal 0, Crystal Palace 1. Arsenal have had 74% of possession, again very similar to Saturday, but they just can't find that way through to goal. That Raheem Sterling, one of the better chances in the half, tipped over by Henderson. We've got about 10 minutes to the break. Arsenal 0, Palace 1.
So that was a 7:30 kickoff. This is a 7:45, 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Southampton Liverpool on Sports Extra at 8. That was a lengthy stoppage, as Joel Linton is now going to have to leave the field of play, and we're yet to restart with Newcastle United leading by 1-0, which it'll be a free kick or an uncontested drop ball for Newcastle, actually, that Dubravka, I would imagine, would take. And in fact, Joel Linton is going to continue to get treatment.
I'll keep an eye on him and Collins as the game goes on. But he is getting more treatment near the corner flag. Changing his shirt.
Must have been a bit of blood there as well then, as Dubravka has the ball in his hands. 21 minutes played on 5 Live.
To be fair, I was expecting a lot more from Newcastle. Quarter final of the Cup, I thought they'd come out the blocks really, quick, like we see them play sometimes, and they've been a little bit nervous. I think they're obviously to respect Brentford, rightly so, but it's not normally how you see Newcastle.
The goal has certainly settled down the crowd, hasn't it? There's not much apprehension in the crowd tonight with that strike from Tonali. Excellent goal it was too. Murphy back to Livramento on the halfway line. Back to Cher, forward ball. Guimaraes able to turn. Passes the ball forward, but it went fizzing past Isak, who's blocked the clearance from Collins, and now gives it to Gordon. But Gordon was challenged by Rueslev. And Joel Linton is going to come back onto the field. They're going to be back up to their full quota of 11. He's got a little bit of tissue, a swab that he's stuffing in his mouth. Maybe a little bit of bleeding in the sulcus area of the mouth.
Did not get fined for littering.
He just dropped it on the floor. Burn to Cher. Newcastle 1-0. Tonali. Through this man here, running back towards the halfway line. Back with Cher, hits a ball over the top. Lewis Potter, the left wing back, heads it. Mee leaves it for Ayer. Back towards Mee, almost caught in possession, and then clips it away to safety. Up towards Wissa, dropping back inside his own half. Brentford in their pink shirts, maroon shorts, playing from left to right as we look. Out to Rueslev on this near side. Newcastle, though, are pressing and forcing Brentford back. Eddie Howe will like that.
Yeah, I think Newcastle are working so hard as they normally do, but give Brentford credit the last 5-6 minutes in. They've come into it, look, they've slowed the game right down to their pace, what they want to do.
Carvalho just tried to thread a ball through to Wissa. It was blocked. It comes towards Murphy. Tidies up on that right-hand side of the play. And then with Tonali, diagonal ball. Rueslev has slipped again. Tonali then hits it over the top. Gordon couldn't control it. He applauds the ball as well. There might have been half an opening for him on this near side the left, as Newcastle are leading by a 0-0. We're past the midway point of the first half.
I think that's how the game's been here, apart from the goal, which was a very good strike by Tonali. Apart from that, I think a lot of players have never got settled in possession. No team settled in possession, finding it hard to control the ball, look, giving it away cheaply.
Tonali gives it away, and another goal at Arsenal, John Southall.
So Crystal Palace 1, unless I've missed something here and I've been paying attention, so I don't think I have. Arsenal 0, Palace 1.
Sorry. It was we're going to Sahel Sahi. It was me who wasn't paying attention.
There's two Arsenals tonight, isn't there, Ian? Lots of confusion. Arsenal have taken the lead against Bayern Munich in the Women's Champions League. Goal coming after 7 minutes from a corner. Caitlin Ford with the goal. It was a goalkeeper, Bayern Munich's goalkeeper, who spilled it on the goal line. Arsenal 1, Bayern Munich 0.
Yep, mea culpa. Thank you, Sahel. Congratulations to the team in the studio as well, to bring up John with the faders as well. That was rather swift work, as Newcastle still lead Brentford by 0-0. Arsenal 0, Palace 1, Southampton 0, Liverpool 0 is a latest score in that 8 o'clock kickoff. 25 minutes played. Crowd now starting to get involved as well, because it had gone into a bit of a lull, hadn't it?
I think there's a bit of nerves out there in Newcastle. We normally see them really going at teams, and I mean, give Brentford, as I say, credit. They've had to change the pack on two occasions, but this they're playing. I think Brentford actually are dictating the pace of the game, which normally Newcastle do.
Here is Byrne in a challenge with Schade. Ruisleft takes over, just touches the ball short and forward towards Carvalho. There's a large hole there in the midfield for Brentford to take advantage of, and Carvalho, unchallenged, ran into it, out towards me on that far side. Janelt now will pass it out towards Lewis Potter, but Brentford growing into the game, looking for an equaliser. Lewis Potter overruns it. Goal kick. But they are starting to see more of the ball.
They are. They've changed the team. You feel sorry a little bit for them not to keep changing it, but they're in control at the minute. They're dictating the pace of the game. They've got the ball more than Newcastle. But as I say, we normally expect Newcastle to come out very quick and chasing them down and putting a lot of pressure on them, but they can't get near Brentford at the minute.
That's the voice of Chris Waddle on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds, where Newcastle are leading by 0-0. Gordon tries to drop his shoulder one way and then the next, away from Ruislev. Back towards Tonali. Hall high up on this near side the left. Gordon was clipped. That'll be a free kick. Sam Barrett will give that. Just has a word with Thomas Frank, who's complaining, down in front of us on this mild night, actually, isn't it, at St James's?
It's very mild, yes.
As Cher passes the ball across towards that far side for Livramento. Formerly of Southampton, where we're going now, Chris Coles.
0-0 between Southampton and Liverpool, 12 minutes in. Mild on the south coast, but very wet, very windy, definitely having an effect on the game. The long balls are being caught in the wind, and it's been a fairly uneventful 12 and a bit minutes. Southampton 0, Liverpool 0.
Sports Extra has the commentary of that. Here is Byrne, left-footed ball into no man's land. That goes straight through to Ben Mee. 6 appearances this season, the former Burnley man. Half of them have come in starts in the League Cup. He's having to just be patient, mind you, with the injuries picked up tonight to defenders. Might have an extended run in the first team, Ben Mee. As the ball goes back to Flecken, all in yellow. Able to hit the ball down the middle of the pitch. Cushion header forward by Cher. Drops towards Yarmouk, Ukrainian midfielder. Quite bulky. And Mee will give it to Yarmouk once again. And now with Collins, but Brentford not able to go anywhere at this stage.
Newcastle's not. But you normally say Newcastle dominate the possession. That's the first half here. But Newcastle just can't seem to get into a pace of rhythm. They're so laid back. The way they're playing, it's so easy, slow. It's very easy for Brentford to get shape up against them. Since the goal, Brentford's dominated the pace of the game.
I thought there might have been a foul on Carvalho. Thomas Frank is having a word with the fourth official at the moment, James Bell, because the decision actually went in favour of Newcastle. That free kick has been taken. Livramento Got to say, it did look like a Brentford free kick. I can understand the complaint there of the Dane, who's been heavily linked with clubs elsewhere, such as the job that he's done at Brentford. As Hall runs forward on the left-hand side, gets it back from Gordon, then back out to Gordon on the left, level the area. Ruislef is with him, goes on the outside, tries to go towards the byline, gets a corner. There's Gordon.
Well, it's positive play by Gordon, isn't it? He's trying to take his full back on, has 2-3 goes at him and finally gets a corner out of it.
Just over 15 minutes to go to half-time then on 5 Live. By the way, I mentioned the boxing earlier. 5 Live Boxing, the podcast, will have daily episodes with Steve Bunce from Riyadh, just to whet the appetite ahead of Saturday night. The coverage will start at 9 o'clock on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. 30 minutes played. Newcastle lead by a goal to nil. They're gathering up and bunching up inside that 6-yard area as we look in front of the Leesy's stand away towards our left, and Gordon clips it long towards the far post on the stretches. Joel Linton off his head and straight out of play for a goal kick.
Well, I've got to say that apart from the goal, Ian, very quiet, isn't it, again?
Yeah.
Not a lot of things to talk about. We were expecting quarter-final cup tie, both teams going for it, high tempo, a lot of goal action, but we've not seen it.
No. In fact, just looking down at my notes, I've got the Tonali goal, and then from memory, I'm thinking of that potential penalty that Brentford might have looked at.
It's like ham sandwich.
Downfield, Flecken's clearance bounces off the thigh of Joel Linton, runs now for Wissa. Carvalho had gone ahead of him, instead rolls it out towards Ruislef, Yarmouk, back then to Collins. Gordon tugged back by Collins. That's going to be a yellow card, and it's going to be a free kick for Newcastle United. He knew exactly what he was doing, Gordon.
Well, good bit of play by Brentford. They get round the 18-yard box down his right-hand side, attacking the Gallagher end, and they check up there and end up on the halfway line with the ball where he gives a free kick away. Look, you're in the 18-yard box, have a shot, try and create something.
Half-time at Arsenal in the Carabao Cup. John Southall.
Arsenal 0, Palace 1. The goal after 3 minutes. Dean Henderson with a long ball forward. Jean-Philippe Mateta outmuscled Kiwior into the area. Poor defending. Mateta finished into the bottom right-hand corner. Good centre-forwards goal, which will not be lost on some Arsenal fans. Henderson's also denied Jesus and Sterling, but Arsenal have been unconvincing. Palace lead 1-0 at half-time.
Southampton 0, Liverpool 0 is a latest. Commentary of that is on Sports Extra. We're a 7:45 kick-off here. Cher forward on the right, back with Guimaraes level with the penalty area. Tries to work over a cross, can't do so. Tries to thread it through, can't do so. Blocked by Wissa. And then the assistant referee on that far side says there was a foul, and Brentford will have a free kick. And we've got 13 minutes to go to the break. But it's not the spectacle that many people might have.
Well, you expect in a cup tie, aren't you? In cup games, you always expect teams to think, we've only got one go at it, so let's go for it. Let's try and get a result. Brentford's been very cautious. We saw that, but I was expecting a lot more from Newcastle to drive in the morning and commit them bodies forward, which we normally see here.
Flecken yet to take the free kick. We'll check in at Southampton with Chris Coles.
Southampton 0, Liverpool 0. 18 minutes in, we finally had our first shot on goal, although on goal is being a little kind because it was nowhere near the goal. Darwin Nunez, edge of the area, right foot shot, way over the bar, and that's the only half chance we've had. Southampton 0, Liverpool 0.
You can hear the wind as well rattling there off the effects mic too, so a bit of a wild night it seems at Southampton. Very mild in comparison here with just over 10 minutes to go to half time. Wissa, they do have Mbeumo on the bench. They made the 5 changes initially, but of course then Collins coming back in for Van den Berg in the after an injury in the warm-up as Guimaraes hits a quick early free kick. Gordon had stopped running and it got a touch off the Brentford defender and Flecken couldn't keep it in play, and all of a sudden Newcastle have got a corner.
Rosleve trying to keep the eye on Gordon, trying to look one eye on the ball, ends up hitting his foot, going out for a corner which the keeper cannot keep in, and the corner on that right hand side for Newcastle.
Paul runs across with a bit of urgency to that far side, the right, in that corner between the east stand and the Leesy's end, for those of you who know St James's Park. So this should be an in-swinger. But in fact, it's taken short, just a few yards to Tonali. Left corner of the area. Hall works it inside, comes to Murphy, hits it first time right-footed, 25 yards out, curling ball over the top, didn't trouble Flecken and never looked like troubling Flecken. Goal kick.
No, it would have been a wonder goal if he hits the target with that. It's come across him, he's leaning back as well, always rising the ball as soon as it leaves his foot. So we're just needing a little bit of goal action, a little bit of energy. It's so flat, the game.
It is. He didn't hit the target, but I'm sure James Gregg is watching people who are hitting the target at the darts.
Yeah, absolutely. And Paulo Nebrida was 3-1 to win this match. The man from the Philippines is, fair to say, then a rank outsider, but he's given the Welshman Jim Williams a real scare here. Nebrida leads 2-1, although Williams is throwing for this fourth set to level it up and take it to a decider.
Quick free kick for Newcastle United. Scher has hoisted the ball long. Gordon's onto it, unmarked, enters the penalty area. Gordon cuts inside and shoots and couldn't keep it down. It'll be a goal kick. Newcastle still lead by a 1-0. 10 minutes to go to the break. Chance at Southampton. Chris Coles.
First chance of the game for Southampton. Tyler Dibling. Good progress into the penalty area. Nice feet. Dummied his first shot, but then his right foot shot was straight at Kelleher, who didn't have to move to make the save. Still Southampton 0, Liverpool 0.
It was quick thinking by Scher, wasn't it?
I mean, Gordon will be disappointed there. He's on his right foot, comes inside, he's got a little bit of time and space, a little bit. You'd expect him to hit the target with his ability, but goes high.
And putting that one down as a chance for cutting inside. Didn't you say he should have done better?
Yep.
As Hall was just caught after he'd played the ball back to Dubravka by Ruaslev. Sam Barrett is going to walk across. Been symptomatic of the game. They've had a lot of stoppages, haven't they?
Yeah, and, let's be honest, they're not really fouls anyway, but it's slowing the game down because there's no rhythm to the game.
No. Newcastle supporters are doing their bit to try and lift the atmosphere. As Hall, who's hobbling quite badly, is going to leave the free kick duties to be taken by Dubravka on this near side to take it. He actually just bites the edge of his black and white striped shirt, does Hall. He must be in a bit of pain. He's still not running freely. Has a word with Jason Tindall. He's going to try and run it off. Dubravka with the free kick, right-footed, ball spinning through the air. Janelt heads it forward for Brentford, comes off the head of Carvalho, off the shoulder of Wissa, and Joel Linton will turn away from Carvalho and passes the ball forward to Gordon, who over the halfway line inside the Brentford half to Guimaraes, and now out towards Murphy. Murphy scampers onto this ball and slows it down. Back to Livramento. You might have heard a groan there from the Newcastle crowd. Here is Guimaraes able to turn, still leading by a 0-0. Links up with Tonali. Guimaraes then was just knocked off his stride there on the edge of the area, and
Guimaraes' yellow card
has got into a challenge.
Yeah, they're not going to. There's no VAR, so they cannot look at it. But I think it was a bit late. Yeah.
And he's caught me.
Yeah.
And he's going to get.
No, he didn't catch you. He caught.
Very good. Very sharp. It's going to be a yellow card to the Newcastle player. Free kick to Brentford. And we will check in that Women's Champions League tie. Arsenal women against Bayern Munich with Sahel Sai.
22 minutes played here. Ian, Arsenal 1, Bayern Munich 0. The goal coming after 7 minutes. Alessia Russo's just come close for Arsenal. Nearly double their lead. A right-footed shot. 20 yards out. It was just over the top. If Arsenal win, they top the group. Both sides are already through to the quarter-finals of the Champions League stage. Arsenal 1, Bayern Munich 0.
Have you had the chance for the challenge on me again?
Yeah, he stood on his toe. Not your toe, but me's toe.
8 minutes to go to half-time. 1-0 to Newcastle United. Flecken waits to take the free kick. Developments at St Mary's. Chris Coles.
A goal, and a goal for the holders. Liverpool are in front. Darwin Nunez with it, made by Trent Alexander-Arnold. Great feet just outside his own penalty area. His through ball to Nunez took a deflection, and he had all the time in the world. Bear down on McCarthy's goal. Found the bottom corner. Southampton 0, Liverpool 1.
It's a trait of Arne Slot since he took charge. They score in every game, with the exception of one, in the 1-0 defeat to Nottingham Forest. So they've found the back of the net again, and Liverpool are ahead. Commentaries on Sports Extra. At half-time, Arsenal 0, Crystal Palace 1, and Newcastle United lead Brentford by 1-0 here at St James's Park, with just over 5 minutes to go to the break. 5 Live and BBC Sounds. But it hasn't been a great game, hasn't been a great spectacle, as Livramento back to share. But if Newcastle United can be in that semi-final draw tomorrow night, something to look forward to then for the new year.
Yeah, that's the object. Yeah, I mean, we all want to see exciting football, don't we? Joe Linton's
another stoppage.
Still not recovered from that head injury, which was 15-20 minutes ago.
So Joel Linton has gone down now inside the penalty area. But you're right about the rhythm, and these stoppages aren't helping the natural flow of the game
I think we expected
to be generated.
I thought it'd be going toe to toe. When they played at Brentford the other week, it was a great game. Both teams going for it. It's not like Newcastle to not go for it. They're actually a little bit showing a lot of respect to Brentford, but it's not how we normally see Newcastle play. They're normally on the front foot. The atmosphere's jumping. There's chance after chance. Yes, they look vulnerable at the back at times, but tonight, slow game.
Well, the both meetings that they've actually had at Brentford have both been 4-2, but at the minute there is only had that Tonali goal, and there haven't really, chances have been few and far between in the contest, really. Brentford are taking this advantage of this stoppage to Joel Linton for Thomas Frank to have a word with his players, get a little bit of liquid refreshment on board. Newcastle United, Isak's come across to Jason Tindall. They look quite relaxed. Cher's just having a word with one of the backroom staff. In fact, it's Ray Thompson, the kit man, about a potential change of boots. So Tomo will run down the tunnel for that, and Joel Linton is back to his feet. But there's going to be at least, I would have thought, 4 or 5 minutes of added on time.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And Joel Linton looks okay to continue, one would imagine.
I think it'd been a problem if he'd walked to the Brentford dugout, but
he's got another blow to his. I think it's maybe that blow that he got to his face that has just caused the blood to reappear. So he's having a word with Eddie Howe. Players about to get back underway. Newcastle lead by 1-0. 41 minutes played, but a lot of stoppage time as Dubravka has the ball at his feet in his penalty area in front of the Gallagate end, away towards our right hand side. And Wissa just stands in front of him, and Dubravka hits it right-footed downfield. Isak, who's been in good form, 3 goals in his last 3 games. Tonali's ball down into the ground, touched back by Gordon, runs towards Byrne. Joel Linton yet to come back onto the field of play. He's got to wait at least 30 seconds. Here is Guimaraes. Now he comes back on and runs with purpose, but Newcastle are attacking with purpose. Murphy's cross from the right. Need, that could have gone anywhere by Ayer. It did go higher, and it went behind.
Yeah, well, it was good delivery, good move, but a bit of tempo about Newcastle there.
So corner kick for Newcastle United, far side the right, leading by 1-0. 3 minutes to go to half time. Incessant chanting from those in the Gallagate end away towards our right, but our eyes are cast to the left, where Newcastle have a corner on the far side the right. Gordon to take it, it's an outswinger. Tonali meets it, brilliant goal. Tonali at the double increases Newcastle lead, and both have been super strikes, excellent technique. Brentford have problems. Newcastle United lead by 2-0.
Well, it'll be interesting this, Ian. I know you just said earlier there's no VAR. It's a great finish again. Well worked corner off the training ground. If you watch Joe Linton, they actually block 2 players, which allows Tonali to come through and just side foot it. It's a class finish. He could easily have hit out these laces, and it could have went anywhere. It's a controlled. He's passed it into the goal. Really good finish. Well rehearsed corner. I'm sure it's a foul if it was VAR. Joe Linton holds people back. Tonali goes in on his own. There's nobody marking him. Runs from inside the D. Dan Burnin, Joe Linton occupy the 2 big boys. Slight deflection, I've got to say, but still a good finish. Side foot. Passes it into the net.
And he was in the air, wasn't he, when he's made the connection as Tonali. Right-footed volley. a little bit of a deflection off the body, I think, of Collins.
You've got to say, Wissa picked him up on the edge of the box and he let him run. Now, whether he thinks the centre-halves are going to head it or whatever, you go with your man. And Tonali's on his own, and he's a good player, he's a class player. Good side foot volley into the net.
I've got to say, he wasn't renowned for his goal scoring at Milan. He only scored 7 in 130 appearances during his time at San Siro after they'd signed him from Brescia. But that now a double on the night, and Newcastle United have the luxury of a cushion. But both have been very, very well taken goals.
Difference.
The technique of both goals.
Both goals have been excellent technique. Oh, yeah, a little bit of good fortune in the second one. It was a slight deflection. I still think it was going in anyway. Well, really, Newcastle haven't had to do a lot to be in the lead. As I said before the game, I thought if Brentford come and really play with a high tempo and a purpose, they've got a chance. But they haven't. They've played slow, they've sat back. They've not really caused Newcastle any problems. So it's been quite easy for Newcastle.
And just before half-time, the first chance of Wembley ring around St James's Park as Newcastle have a free kick. Hall to take it. Downward header by Joe Linton, flags up on the far side. Well, before tonight, they'd scored 9 goals in their last 3 games. Eddie Howe has talked in recent matches of just starting to get back to the standards that he wants. And after getting their first win against Leicester City in 5 games on Saturday, they now lead by 2-0 as Lewis Potter breaks forward but has overrun that, although he will get a free kick. And 6 minutes of added on time as Livramento has just been shown a yellow card for that foul on Lewis Potter.
Well, he did well, Lewis Potter. He ran across the lane of Livramento and he had no option to get out, push him and get out of the way, which he's got a yellow card for. Well, I've been disappointed with Brentford. I know they've made changes and they've had a couple of injury problems, but they've not played at any tempo. They've not asked any questions. You know, they're just playing so slow.
They won away at Colchester in round 2. They've actually only had 2 wins in their last 11 in all competitions, but it's 8 without a win on their travels in the Premier League, in stark contrast to boasting the best home record in the Premier League. They are a different animal away from home, and now they've got real problems. 2-0 down as we are into the 6 minutes of added on time. They've not threatened at all in open play, so let's see what they can do with this set piece. It's over 25 yards out, it's left of centre. It's Lewis Potter, right-footed. It's a dipping effort, right-footed, off-target goal kick. Newcastle 2-0.
Yeah, you don't blame him. Why not have a shot? They've not had much joy putting the ball in the box for headers or crosses. Have not had a lot of joy, so why not have a shot that goes well into the Gallagher end?
There's been a goal at Southampton, Chris Coles.
A second for Liverpool, and this is really well taken by Harvey Elliott on his first start this season, his first goal of the season, found just on the edge of the area, dribbling into space, right foot shot into Southampton's bottom corner, and Liverpool are in total control. Southampton 0, Liverpool 2, 33 minutes.
Well, they conceded 5 in the first half against Tottenham. Russell Martin, of course, losing his job on the back of that as Wissa is down, and Liverpool looking good for the last 4. Crystal Palace, remember, leading at half-time against Arsenal by 1-0, and Newcastle United 2-0 up here. Tomorrow night, Tottenham Hotspur, Manchester United, 5 Live Sport. John Murray and Michael Brown will have commentary with all the build-up from 7. As the physios made it onto the field of play, they got to the edge of the centre circle, and then Janelt actually waved them away.
Well, I think he wants to get in half-time. I mean, I don't know what France's team talk will be, but he's got to have a bit more urgency and a bit more desire. It's a cup game. You go out. It's not about points. You go out, you lose, you're out. You go home, you're finished, you're out. Go and have a go.
Are you back underway for the second half, John?
Yeah, we are. Arsenal 0, Crystal Palace 1. A couple of significant substitutions though. Mikel Arteta had to do something. He's brought on Ødegaard and Saliba for Nwaneri and Partey. Klein has come on for Kapurka for Crystal Palace. Arsenal 0, Palace 1.
Thank you. That was a 7:30 kick-off at the Emirates. This was 7:45, and Newcastle United in stoppage time have taken a throw on this near side, the left. Hall rather casually flicked it down towards Joel Linton. A little bit of hesitation in the back line for Brentford, but it's picked up by Flecken inside their penalty area. But he's hanging on to the ball, not blessed with options. Throws it out to Aya. Now with me on that far side, the Brentford left. 2 goals from Sandro Tonali. The difference between the two, here is Tonali. Clearance from Brentford went straight to the Italian, towards Murphy, plays it in. Guimaraes lays it off. Tonali links back up. He was on a hat-trick there, couldn't get the shot away, has kept it in play. Isak, back to Murphy, hits the post. Rising right-footed effort, hits the right outside of the right-hand post, out for a goal kick. Newcastle close to a third.
It should have been game over. That was a good move again. The urgency with Newcastle, when they want to, we've not seen a great deal of it first half, let's be honest, but they went through the gears, and Brentford can't get near them, and it's hit the outside of the post. Very unlucky by Murphy. But you've got to say, Newcastle 2-0 up, absolutely an easy first half for them.
It has, it's been very comfortable, hasn't it?
Without them having to work and chase and do things what you normally see with Newcastle, high tempo, they've just strolled through this first half. I've got to be said, Brentford have been very, very disappointing.
Yeah, it's been a tame offering so far from the away side. Newcastle lead by 2-0, and we are into the 5th minute of 6 to be added on in this first half on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds, as Livramento makes a diagonal run from his right back slot and now plays the ball forward to Gordon, and Newcastle are threatening more goals. Here is Joel Linton charging at the heart of the Brentford defence, out to Murphy, right hand side, flags up, free kick to Brentford.
He should never be offside there, Murphy. He's coming down that right, he's just got to look along the lane, keep looking along the lane, eventually the ball rolls to you. That was a poor play by Murphy, but so easy for Newcastle. They win the ball at the back. Joe Linton runs 30 yards with it, no challenge.
Flecken plays a diagonal ball out to Rioslav. Rioslav comes off his chest, holds off Gordon. Wissa turns away from Tonali, and then Tonali though comes back and dispossesses Wissa, who thought he'd been fouled. He's getting back to his feet now and still in the ear of the referee. Play continues meanwhile with Brentford. Yarmouk to Janelt inside the centre circle. Me over on that far side. Comes to a standstill, does the defender for Brentford. And now with Yarmouk, Collins right of the centre circle, and there is the half-time whistle, and Newcastle United deservedly and comfortably are ahead by 2-0. 2 very well taken goals by Tonali, his first a sweet strike after 9 minutes, and then he passed the ball in with a right-footed volley 2 minutes before half-time. Chris Watt.
Well, 2 great goals, 2 good finishes, I've got to say. Newcastle have turned up without really having to play like we normally see them playing, high tempo, pressing and a lot of energy. They didn't need to do it. Brentford haven't turned up, so it's been such an easy first half for Newcastle United. And notice there Joe Linton walking off, had a word with the physio. I don't think we'll see him second half.
Well, we'll wait and see with second half commentary to come, but Newcastle United at this stage are set for the last 4, because at half-time, Newcastle United 2, Brentford 0. Steve.
16 months, Chris Waddle, between Sandro Tonali's first and second Newcastle goals, and 23 minutes between his second and third. He's been through a lot and he's finding his feet again.
We know he's a good player. Listen, he played by AC Milan, great team. He's come here, yes, he was very unlucky. 2 great finishes, the first one in particular. What a strike, it's not easy. People just think, put your head down and hit it. He controlled it, nice strike. Didn't try and take the leather off it, he struck it lovely, and it was a wonderful finish. Second one, a little deflection, but knew what he was doing, cushioned it, side foot volley, didn't try and blast it. Newcastle haven't had to play well to be 2-0 up. Brentford have been so poor. I know they've had a few problems with injuries and whatever, but it's a quarter-final of the Cup. If you're going to go out fighting and thinking, we had a go.
They just didn't play on Newcastle's nerves at all, did they?
Nothing.
And they were there in the stand and on the pitch.
Nothing. I know there's changes, but hey, there's 11 players v 11. Go and have a go. The tempo they're playing at, you're not winning any game. Never any cups are. You're not winning any game playing the way Brentford's playing. You've got to show energy. You've got to take risk. It's a cup game. If you lose, you're out the competition. It's not like a league game where you think, we can get 3 points next week. You're out the competition. Go and have a go. If you get beat 4, you get beat 4. But at the minute, Brentford, been so disappointed with them. Newcastle haven't had to do a lot, and I don't think Newcastle's playing to the level of what we expect.
Yeah, not needed to play well so far. Newcastle 2, Brentford 0 half-time. These are League Cup quarter-finals. Remember, Ian Dennis and Chris Waddle will be back, of course, for the second half. Every time I look up, John Southall, Arsenal are attacking.
Yeah, there's more intent, there's more urgency from Arsenal now. The fans sense it. Arsenal 0, Palace 1. They should have equalised. Raheem Sterling at the back post, saved by Henderson on the rebound, hit the crossbar. Ødegaard 20-yarder, Henderson there again. Here they come forward again. Good defending though from Crystal Palace, and Marino the 25-yarder wide. Better from Arsenal. You sense it could be coming, the goal. Cross comes over now, looking for Jesus at the back post, cleared away. It's all Arsenal now. Arsenal 0, Palace 1.
Arsenal's men look like they might be about to score. Arsenal's women have just conceded. Sahel Sahi.
Yeah, Bayern Munich are level now here, Steve. Arsenal 1, Bayern Munich 1. It came from a corner, just like Arsenal's goal. And this time the former Chelsea defender, Magdalena Eriksson, rose the highest at the far post to nod home. We're all level. We've played 39 minutes. Arsenal 1, Bayern Munich 1.
That one in the Women's Champions League, of course. The third of our 3 League Cup quarter-final ties tonight is at St Mary's, and it's only going in one direction, Chris Coles.
And that direction is in Liverpool's favour, leading Southampton by 2-0. They've been very comfortable, have the holders. Darwin Núñez putting them in front, caressing the ball home from Alexander-Arnold's through ball. Harvey Elliott doubling the lead with a nice finish into the bottom corner, and McAllister sweeping an effort that was very well saved by McCarthy. Could easily have been 3-0. Southampton, they're slightly less kamikaze under Simon Rusk than they were under Russell Martin, but they haven't really offered a great deal going forward. Tyler Dibbling with their best effort, a right foot shot straight at Kelleher, and so far it's been a relatively comfortable evening for the holders. Liverpool leading at Southampton by 2-0, and we have 5 minutes of the first half to play.
Well, if ever a goal was coming, John Southall.
Absolutely. Arsenal 1, Crystal Palace 1. Lovely finish from Gabriel Jesus, skipped over Shalabar and dinked the ball over the keeper Henderson into the net. Hasn't scored many recently, second of the season. Big one for Arsenal. They brought on Saliba at half-time, they brought on Ødegaard. There's more urgency. Arsenal have the equaliser. Arsenal 1, Palace 1.
So Arsenal 1, Crystal Palace 1, Newcastle 2, Brentford 0 and Southampton 0, Liverpool 2. The scores in the League Cup tonight. Remember, they were staggered kickoffs. So Arsenal Palace got underway first, then our game at St James's Park. Second half commentary on the way. We'll see what happens, but I think there's a high chance we'll probably take commentary of the end of Southampton, Liverpool. Liverpool, as Chris was just telling us, leading by 2-0. We're going to be off to Riyadh after the news on 5 Live with Dan Maudsley.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Good evening. A teenager's been jailed after killing 3 of his friends in a high-speed crash under the influence of laughing gas. Thomas Johnson, who's 19, was travelling at speeds of almost 100 miles an hour before his car collided with a lamppost and a tree in Oxfordshire last summer. He's been jailed for 9 years and 4 months. Detective Sergeant Tony Jenkins of Thames Valley Police was the senior investigating officer.
This was, without doubt, one of the most catastrophic and tragic collisions I have investigated. The speeds at which Johnson was driving were staggering, particularly given the road he was driving on. Ethan, Elliot and Daniel stood no chance. They were simply enjoying a night out, and their lives were needlessly and tragically cut short.
Downing Street says the Prime Minister has spoken to President-elect Donald Trump and reiterated the need for the Allies to stand together with Ukraine. They also discussed the importance of working together for peace in the Middle East and for economic prosperity in both the UK and the US. Well, the US Central Bank has cut interest rates for a third time, despite concerns it risks reigniting inflation, which rose slightly to 2.7% there last month. UK figures released today put inflation here at 2.6%. The man who led the offensive that toppled the Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad says Syria is exhausted by war and is not a threat to the West. In an interview with the BBC, Ahmed al-Shara called for sanctions on the country to be lifted. He's the leader of the group known as HTS, which he wants to be delisted as a terrorist organisation. And water supplies have been disrupted around Southampton, affecting over 70,000 properties. More than 20 schools have been shut today. Southern Water says it hopes to have restored supply by the weekend.
Let's travel through time together this Christmas Day.
On Headliners, we travel back across the year and relive some of the best moments from the likes of Sir Trevor McDonald, Dina Asher-Smith and James Blunt.
And I'll be time travelling back across 2024. Hear highlights from my chat with Russell Crowe, Gabby Logan, Dermot O'Leary and many more fab guests.
Okay, so we're not actually time travelling, but we do have all this and much more. You can join me for a festive breakfast from 7 as we get the big day underway in style.
This Christmas Day, ask your smart speaker
to play BBC Radio 5 Live. This is 5 Live Sports
with Steve Crossman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
We'll be back at St James's Park for second half commentary shortly of Newcastle 2, Brentford 0 on 5 Sports Extra. You can listen to Southampton 0, Liverpool 2, half-time there very shortly. And into the second half, hour mark, Arsenal 1, Crystal Palace 1 in the other League Cup quarter-final tie tonight. Saudi Arabia next, just 3 days out from the World Heavyweight title rematch between Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury. Usyk is defending his WBC, WBA and WBO titles in Riyadh. You can listen to the whole fight live on 5 Live, BBC Sounds and the BBC Sport website from 9 p.m. on Saturday. Both of the fighters held their public workouts earlier today. Here's Fury's promoter Frank Warren on his man's defeat last time.
I feel that fight's taken more out of Usyk than it's done of Tyson. But Usyk's a warrior. They're both warriors. They're unbelievable heavyweights, the best of their generations, best of the 21st century. They gave the best heavyweight title fight of the 21st century by far. Who can now capitalise on the other guy's weaknesses? Who can do it? Who's got it in them to do it? That's what this fight's all going to be about.
Frank Warren speaking to Steve Bunce, who joins us now from Riyadh. About midnight must be there, Steve. How is it?
I never look at my watch when I'm working, Steve. You should know that. If I've got an appointment, I've just got to be on the phone in 10 minutes talking to 5 Live. Yeah, it's about midnight, by the way.
It's 3 p.m. in the afternoon, Steve. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. You're absolutely fine. How did they look today then?
Well, they look cold, and that's not a cheap joke. It's absolutely freezing. It's bitter here. Again, that's not a cheap joke. Tyson Fury got in the ring in at least 4 layers with a hat on and some gloves on. Not boxing gloves, as in keeping your hands warm. He went around the ring 3 or 4 times. He nodded at a few people. He said half a dozen words and he got out. Usyk did a few tricks and messed around. The real telltale sign was, in my opinion, on Monday when I sat down with the pair of them and did that thing. I know it sounds like a cliche, but I tried to look in their eyes, Steve. I tried to see something that none of us have seen. And I saw the most content-looking Alexander Usyk, and I saw a very angry-looking Tyson Fury.
I mean, with most elite athletes, you might say that going into an absolutely huge night in your career with anger isn't a good thing. I imagine boxing, and especially Tyson Fury boxing, might be an exception.
It might be an exception, and it has proven to be an exception with other fighters in the past. However, it's also proved to be a hindrance because the anger ends up ruling your heart and your head, and it just becomes pure emotions. Tyson Fury is fairly good at controlling his emotions, but he does need a bit of motivation. And if the fear, and if I could use this expression, the fear factor of suffering another defeat, back-to-back defeats with Usyk, if that fear factor is what helps him come the first bell, great. However, if that fear factor means he tries too hard, he runs out of steam after 4 rounds and gets stopped and exhausted in the 7th round, then it will go against him. And I know this sounds like a cop-out, but if you could call me after 20 seconds of the first round, Steve, I'll give you the exact what's going on, okay?
Is there a danger of Tyson Fury doing that, do you think? Or will he be too
absolutely.
smart? No, right,
absolutely. Because you remember he had that rematch with Deontay Wilder. In the first fight, it goes 12 rounds. He does that thing in the 12th round when he gets knocked down and he gets up somehow. It's unbelievable. Then we go into the rematch and suddenly we see a totally different Tyson Fury. He just chases Deontay Wilder, catches him cold and stops him in about 7 rounds, but pulverised him and pummeled him. If Tyson Fury tried that in this rematch with Alexander Usyk, I believe it would be an absolute disaster, because Deontay Wilder is a dangerous fighter. He's dropped his 40-odd opponents a total of 100 times. Alexander Usyk is a smart fighter, and Tyson Fury would be chasing thin air, and that could be a disaster. That's why I don't think we'll see that kind of anger. But if he can channel the anger, and I know it sounds again like it's obvious, if Tyson Fury can channel the anger I saw on Monday, then it could be a reverse of what we had in May.
We just heard Frank Warren there saying that he effectively thinks that Usyk is not in quite as good a position as he was before the first fight. But judging by what you were just saying about sort of looking into his eyes, how do you see him compared to them?
I see him not necessarily disagreeing with Frank Warren, but I don't wholeheartedly agree with Frank Warren. Alexander Usyk on the night back in May could barely walk. Let's get that right. He was so exhausted from his exertions of beating a 19-stone man. The Alexander Usyk I saw the other day looked bigger and fresher than any Alexander Usyk I've seen for 4 or 5 years. It's like he's turned back the clock. His skin was glowing. His eyes were bright. He was funny. He was alert. And plus, we've seen some footage from camp. He looks incredibly sharp. I'm not seeing an Alexander Usyk who's knocking on that old man's door like we have in boxing. There's the old man's door, and there comes a point when every boxer has to tap on it. I don't see that for Alexander Usyk. I saw a very scary looking Alexander Usyk the other day, and by the way, he was smiling at the same time.
Great stuff, Steve. I was going to say sweet dreams, but even around midnight you won't be going to bed, will you? You'll be doing 2 ways at 4 a.m, no doubt.
Listen, I'd like to be doing 2 ways and 3 ways. I'll do anything. I just don't care. If there's a microphone, I'll go to it, Steve. You know that, son.
Thank you very much, Steve. Let me just give you the rest of the big sell then. Not that it needs it. It's Usyk Fury. But it's 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Live, full commentary, Saturday night. Coverage starts at 9, so you get the ring walks, you get the main event at 10 o'clock. There are daily episodes of the 5 Live Boxing podcast as well with Steve on BBC Sounds all week. We've got a special 5 Live Sport podcast as well, all about Saudi Arabia's investment in sport, warts and all. It's called Saudi Arabia and Sport, The Explainer. That is available now. It's on our All About feed on BBC Sounds. Half-time at St Mary's, back in the League Cup. Chris Coles.
Southampton 0, Liverpool 2 in far from ideal conditions, with the rain falling and the wind whipping around the stadium. A much changed Liverpool, but they're comfortably the better side. Darwin Núñez and Harvey Elliott with tidy finishes. Núñez collecting Alexander-Arnold's through ball. Tidy finish into the corner. Harvey Elliott likewise. Gakpo provided it. Elliott finished it. Southampton struggling to keep hold of the ball. They're not playing as riskily as they did under Russell Martin, but when they go long, it's coming straight back at them in the stiff breeze. But they will have the wind in the second half, and we'll see if that makes a difference. Southampton 0, Liverpool 2.
In the Women's Champions League, it's already finished. Barcelona 3, Manchester City 0. What about Arsenal, Bayern Munich? Half-time, Sahel Sahi.
Arsenal 1, Bayern Munich 1. Evenly fought first half. The Arsenal goal coming from a corner which was spilt by the Bayern Munich goalkeeper and then accidentally ricocheted off their captain, Glodis Vigastottir. Both sides had their periods of dominance, and then the equaliser came 6 minutes before the break. A corner once again. Georgia Stanway with the first contact, and then Magdalena Eriksson with the finish. Half-time, Arsenal 1, Bayern Munich 1.
Thank you very much, Sahel. I wasn't expecting Come a Chameleon to be playing tonight. It should be all Christmas music. Let's take you back to the Emirates. John Southall.
Arsenal 1, Crystal Palace 1. Another chance for Jesus on the left of the area, on the turn, saved by Henderson at his near post from the corner, cleared away. Interestingly, from those corners, Palace are keeping 3 players up so they can't pack the box, Arsenal, and so far it's working. Arsenal 1, Palace 1.
Right, about to get back underway at St James's. Ian.
Yep, already underway. Brentford are on the attack. This is Wissa just outside the penalty area. Wissa looks for a shooting opportunity, charged down by Cher, and it falls to the feet of Murphy. Chris Waddle was quite correct as well. Joel Linton did not appear at the start of the second half, replaced by Willock as Newcastle straight away attack at the other end. This is Gordon. Gordon passes the ball into the penalty area. Slice clearance by me. Livramento overruns it, and I'll run through the two teams for you. As Newcastle United in their black and white striped shirts and black shorts have Dubravka in goal, a back four of Livramento, Cher, Byrne and Hall, Tonali, Guimaraes, Willock, Murphy, Isak and Gordon. Incidentally, the yellow cards picked up in the first half for Cher and Guimaraes means that they will both be suspended for the first leg of the semi-finals that take place, well, the first leg at the start of January. For Brentford, well, they lost Vandenberg in the warm-up, and then during the first half they lost Pinnock again through injury. So they now line up with Flecken in goal, a back three of Collins, Mee and Ayer, with Ruislef and Lewis Potter as the wing-backs. You've then got Yarmouk and Janelt, Carvalho, Schade and Wissa. And Mbeumo is on the bench. Brentford are defending the Gallowgate end in their pink shirts and maroon shorts, are playing from right to left as we look. And you would think there would be a little bit more fight and bite about Brentford.
Urgency I'm looking at. Yes, honestly, he got 45 minutes to stay in the cup. A year out. They came out nice and early. I think the manager must have had a few words with them. But since we've kicked off second half, I haven't really saw that a bit of urgency about them. So it's been very, very easy for Newcastle United.
Former England international Chris Waddle, who's with us here at St James's Park. We're live on BBC Radio 5 Live and also on the BBC Sounds app. Sports Extra will have commentary of Southampton against Liverpool, and we'll keep you in touch of Arsenal Crystal Palace, that 7:30 kickoff that is 1-1. A reminder, no extra time, nor tonight nor tomorrow, for that next commentary of Tottenham Hotspur Manchester United. So penalties required after 90 minutes. Carvalho asks for Lewis Potter but won't get the better of Livramento, who passes the ball into his penalty area for Cher, and Guimaraes will play a short ball to Murphy. Came under pressure. Guimaraes was alive to the danger of it going back to Wissa. Cher had to quickly act and put the ball out of a throw, preventing it from going for a corner. Brentford to take it. In fact, Schade, I think, is going to run across to take the throw instead. So attacking the Leazes end, where those hardy souls have travelled from West London high up away towards our left. It must be a good over 1,000 have made that long trek to the northeast of England, hoping to see their side get back into the game. It's a long throw from Schade, flicked on by Collins and hooked acrobatically over his head by Wissa, but it's over the crossbar goal kick.
That was a long throw by Schade, wasn't it? Wow, that's nearly landed middle of the goal, distance-wise. So, but I still don't see the urgency. How do you get back in this cup tie? By taking risk and going having a go. And unfortunately, they're playing very similar to the first half.
The attendance inside St James's tonight is 51,765. And the majority will be content with this scoreline of Newcastle United 2, Brentford 0. Those goals from Tonali in the first half, as Murphy, challenged by Janelt. Tonali loses out to Yarmouk, but Tonali charges after the Brentford players. Mee had to skip out of the way to Carvalho now for Brentford. Just in from the left touchline on this near side, Lewis Potter strokes it back left-footed. Fair-haired Mee plays the ball inside. Collins overhits it. There's again another heavy touch, and it goes out of play for a goal kick, as we're going to the darts and James Gregg.
And we've just had, Deno, a 9-dart finish, the 15th in World Championship history. To take the opening set, the relatively unknown Dutch dartsman Christian Kist. The arena has gone absolutely bonkers. It happened about 2 minutes ago, and you can still hear the noise. Incredible. So he's one set up, and this crowd have been treated already tonight. An incredible, historic 9-dart finish for Christian Kist.
Thank you, James. Free kick taken quickly by Tonali for Newcastle. Swept downfield towards Livramento, held up by Lewis Potter on the edge of his own penalty area, and then marshalled safely behind for a goal kick. I mean, the beauty of the second goal for Newcastle now is that, they've just got to keep it tight, and they're through the last four.
Listen, they've just, as you say, just work hard. Don't allow Brentford to get time, space, especially in the final third. And go and get a third, because the longer the game goes on, Brentford's got to take more risk.
Brentford, who didn't reach the quarter-finals in this competition for any of the first 60 seasons, and now in their last 8 have found them in the last 8 in 3 of the last 5 seasons. They lost to Chelsea in 2021. They did eliminate Newcastle in the previous season, as we mentioned in the first half, but it looks like they are the ones going to be making the exit as it currently stands, 6 minutes into the second half, trailing 2-0. 5 Live and BBC Sounds, as Brentford do have a free kick, which not quite at the midway point of the Newcastle half. as the black and white striped shirts of Newcastle United once again provide as much protection as possible to Dubravka with that high line 25 yards out from goal. Lewis Potter is the player who places the ball down gently. You've got the three central defenders who've gathered on this near side, Collins and Ayer and Ben Mee. Then again it's taken short. And then Janelt is the player who switches it to Mee, heads it on, drops towards Collins with his back to goal, and then Mee's touch, a little bit off balance, has skied it, and it's well behind for a goal kick.
No, well worked free kick again. Obviously Newcastle are all in that high lane, they move the ball square. Newcastle have to drop off, and they weren't a good angle, but Mee could not get his foot wrapped round it to put it in the box.
They haven't had a shot on goal yet, Brentford. 52 minutes into this cup tie. Tonali forward to Murphy. Stepping out of defence was Mee. Mee to Lewis Potter. Carvalho back towards Janelt. That was quicker from Brentford. A little bit sharper. They pass the ball. Wisser is onto it. Plays it back to Lewis Potter. Promising for Brentford. Left-hand side of the penalty area. Janelt with a cross. Headed away easily by Byrne. No focal point in the penalty area. Yarmouk, Mee, back with Janelt looking for a way back into the tie. Newcastle trying to work hard to get it back, and Gordon does succeed in doing so. It was Arsenal 1, Crystal Palace 1. There's now been a goal, but to who to? John Southall.
They've turned it around. Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 1. Jesus again, Gabriel Jesus on the right of the area, smashed it into the bottom left-hand corner. Arsenal 2, Palace 1.
So as it currently stands, 3/4 of that semi-final lineup would be Arsenal, Liverpool and Newcastle United, with to join them Tottenham Hotspur or Manchester United tomorrow night. Here is Willock getting the ball back from Gordon, out to Hall on that far side, down the line to Willock, former Arsenal player, and the Brentford player just drops to the floor easily. That was Yarmouk, and it'll be a free kick to the away side.
It's Newcastle, isn't it? The game's very scrappy, and let's be honest, there's not a lot of quality. Brentford have had a lot of time on the ball in certain areas, but not used it well enough. Newcastle, very well disciplined, seeing the game through.
Here is Janelt, hits a ball early. Nobody was giving chase. There was Cher, plays it forward under pressure, finds Livramento in that central area now, is able without any undue pressure to wander across towards the far side, and Gordon shuffles the ball inside. Livramento has stayed central. Isak comes short, 25 yards out. That was being pulled back by Janelt there. The referee has played the advantage. Out to Murphy, comes to a standstill right corner of the area. Tonali will give it back to Murphy. Tonali then, and Newcastle United have a control in this cup tie with 10 minutes into the second half. Here is Hall, back to Cher inside the centre circle, working it neatly, finding their men. Tonali, Livramento, Murphy comes in off the right touchline, goes into a central area, runs off the legs of Yarmouk, and actually aided Murphy. Here is Gordon to Isak, back towards Gordon. Nice move by Newcastle United, nicked away off his toes behind for a corner.
The thing about Newcastle is when they get the ball, they're going to take a short corner.
Taking it very short and very quickly. Gordon, in it goes, headed out by Mee, comes towards Livramento. Brentford had everybody back in and around their own penalty area. Newcastle United still lead by 2-0. Gordon in field to Guimaraes. Hall back with Livramento, goes square to Tonali. Now it's with Cher who provides the width on this near side, the right. Murphy now will make that run out towards the right touchline. Newcastle though still keeping the ball, and keeping the ball very, very well.
Listen, they're 2-0 up, well, they don't need to take risks. If you look at them, when they go through the gear zone, Newcastle, they do. Brentford, no, nothing.
Willock runs forward into the penalty area, shot takes a deflection. They're appealing for handball. The referee, with no VAR, will say it goes behind for a corner kick. Newcastle 2-0.
The thing with Newcastle is they've played possession, they've played the game slow, and a lot of this game. But what they do is when they see an opportunity, they go for it, and they change of pace and everything. The tempo changes and everything. Brentford don't have that.
So it's going to be a corner kick in front of the Gallagate end on that far side. Newcastle United playing from left to right. Gordon is the player who stands over it. Brentford have got every pink shirt back inside their own penalty area. In fact, it's going to be Hall to take it. He rolls it to Gordon. Gordon then with the back heel to Hall. Nicely worked. It was Isak who had the shot, skied it. Coming away from goal, 8 yards out, left-footed skied
well
it.
rehearsed up the training ground. They've worked on that, you can see that. And I think really Isak should have let that go, and it would have went. I think it was to Tonali on the edge of the box, who was waiting for it. It was a well-worked corner. Lovely bit of skill, lovely little back heel. He dummies it. Newcastle have total control of this match.
Yeah.
I can't remember Brentford having a spell of 5-10 minutes where you start thinking, yeah, they're coming into it now. Not showing anything.
No. Ever since Tonali fired Newcastle ahead in the 9th minute, they've been in charge of this cup tie. Leading by 2-0 as we approach the hour mark. BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds. And you hear a lot of mentions on the station in the coming days about the fact that the Usyk Fury fight is live on 5 Live and BBC Sounds coverage on Saturday night from 9 o'clock. Here is Willock to Gordon. Newcastle United attacking. Guimaraes and Isak are up with him, as is Willock. Gordon tries to place it and places it just wide right-footed. That would have sealed it, surely.
Great move, great bit of change of tempo, wasn't it? To pick it up, Willock runs with it, gives it to Gordon, who runs around the outside of him. And he could have rolled Willock in, but I think he was in a great position to do what he tried, to bend it, place it in that bottom corner. Just goes past the post, but this is such an easy game, comfortable game for Newcastle.
We've talked about Brentford's home record and we've talked about their troubles away from home. Eventually, do you think, and I don't know if you've ever experienced this in your career, but does that become psychological after a while?
Yeah, but why is it psychological? Lovely stadium, lovely pitch. You know, the fans are not on the pitch, are they? So why can't you perform at home and try and copy it again? You should play the same way. I don't get it.
Well, Damsgaard is going to be coming on. There's going to be at least one change being made by Brentford. There is activity down below as they trail 2-0. But Newcastle United, with those goals from Tonali in the first half, have a cushion. Roerslev, deep inside his own half, turns and clears long. Wissa being pulled back by Byrne. It was a tussle between the two. The referee was quite happy for them to let it continue. And lets the game flow too. Cher out to Livramento, right side of the centre circle. 30 minutes remain on 5 Live. Livramento now towards Murphy, coming in on the right touchline to Guimaraes. Willock is ahead of him. Isak just waits outside the D. Every outfield player is in the halfway towards our right. Hall to Gordon, combining on that left-hand side. Gordon in towards Guimaraes, just looking for the third goal to put this tie to bed. Stroke forward by Cher. Murphy, Livramento on the overlap. Murphy uses him a decoy, goes in field, links up there with Guimaraes, just wide. Low right-footed effort, curled wide of the left-hand post, but it was a lovely move.
Brilliant move, absolutely brilliant. They must have had 15 passes, say. Well worked, excellent bit of skill. Murphy should really put that in the bottom corner, but Brentford not really trying to get the ball back at all. So easy for Newcastle.
Let's get the latest from Arsenal. John Southall.
Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 1. Just about 10 minutes still to play. Palace haven't given this up yet. And also just see a replay of that second Jesus goal. May well just have been offside when he made his run. But of course no VAR. And it stood Arsenal 2, Palace 1.
And what's the latest at Southampton, Chris Coles?
Southampton 0, Liverpool 2. 5 minutes into the second half. Double change for Liverpool at the break. Chiesa and Tsimikas on for Alexander-Arnold and Gomez. Which means Liverpool's back line is now Tsimikas, Endo, Quansah, Morton. We'll see if Southampton can threaten what is a very unfamiliar back line. 0-2.
Commentary of that is on Sports Extra, but there's been another goal at Arsenal. John Southall.
And it's a hat-trick for Gabriel Jesus. Arsenal 3, Palace 1. Timed his run just inside his own half, outstripped the defence and smashed it in to finish it off. Before tonight, he'd scored 1 in 33 games. Tonight he's helped himself to a hat-trick. Arsenal 3, Palace 1.
61 minutes played here, double change being made by Brentford. Damsgaard is coming on, as is Mbumo, and it will be Janelt who is going off, as well as Fabio Carvalho. So that is the change being made by Thomas Frank in an attempt just to try and pep up this Brentford side, who are yet to test Dubravka in the Newcastle goal, 61 minutes played.
No, well, they've shown nothing. Set pieces, whatever, general play. You know, there's no tempo about them. There's no desire. It's been such an easy game for Newcastle. Newcastle's done what they've needed to do.
And let's get an update from Arsenal's women, Sahel side.
4 minutes played in the second half here. Ian, still Arsenal 1, Bayern Munich 1. Bayern Munich have come out really with some attacking intent. Whoever finishes top of the group will be seeded into the next round, which is the quarter-finals. Arsenal 1, Bayern Munich 1.
Just regarding Gabriel Jesus, that is his first Arsenal hat-trick, and it is the fifth of his career for an English side. He scored 4 during his time with Manchester City, Watford, Burton, Shakhtar Donetsk and Dinamo Zagreb, but his first for Arsenal as Gabriel Jesus with a hat-trick as they've come from behind to lead Crystal Palace by 3-1. Liverpool lead 2-0 at Southampton, and here Newcastle United are extremely comfortable against Brentford, but we'll wait to see what those changes do as Mbeumo goes to the right of Wissa, Shardas to the left, Damsgaard in the midfield, because Newcastle United at the minute, it looks like serene progress to the last 4 in a competition where they're looking to try and end that long wait. The final is on Wembley, the 16th of March. It'll be 70 years by the time next year comes around. Newcastle United, well, it's going to be whatever the outcome of tomorrow night's tie. You've got a heavyweight look, haven't you, to that semi-final lineup.
Massive.
Although nobody will relish a trip to St James's Park, where Newcastle United now have failed to score in only 3 of their last 25 games. That's in all competitions, actually home and away, but in their home form from mid-January they've lost only 2 of their last 18 here at home. They are very, very strong at St James's. 63.5 minutes played, they lead 2-0, and Eddie Howe is going to be making a change as well. Harvey Barnes is going to be coming on very, very soon for Newcastle United.
Well, day for Gordon, I would think, wouldn't it? Game's won, really.
Yeah. Newcastle United, for their festive period, they've got a trip to Ipswich. They entertain Villa on Boxing Day at home, and then they travel to Manchester United on the 30th of December. But the change, it's Murphy actually coming off, Jacob Murphy. I thought, like you, Chris, I thought it was going to be Anthony Gordon, but Jacob Murphy comes off, and Harvey Barnes is on. He started the last 4 games as Jacob Murphy. It's his best run of the season in the Newcastle first team. 2 goals in that win against Leicester at the weekend. 2-0 they lead here tonight as we approach the midway point of the second half on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. And here is Yarmouk on this near side, the left. Tries to win it back. Sharda is there, but as is Tonali. And in fact, it was offside against Brentford. Free kick for Newcastle United.
Well, it just doesn't matter what Newcastle do. They're cruising this game, whether they want up the tempo or players they are. Brentford have offered absolutely nothing.
No, it looks like it's going to be a tame exit for Brentford in this League Cup competition. Might have been a different proposition had it been down in West London, but there's been another goal at Arsenal. John Southall.
Well, maybe it's not over yet. Arsenal 3, Crystal Palace 2. Special goal for Eddie Nketiah. Brilliant header. Rose really well and planted into the bottom right-hand corner. So we've got 5 minutes to play. Arsenal 3, Palace 2.
Can Palace force a penalty shootout? Eddie Nketiah against his former club on the score sheet at the Emirates. Arsenal 3, Crystal Palace 2. Liverpool sounds comfortable for them. 2-0 on Sports Extra against Southampton at St Mary's, and still no change in the scoreline here at St James's Park. Damsgaard, he of the high forehead, back to Yarmouk, who switches play to Ruislef on the far side, the Brentford right, midway through the Newcastle half. Just can't recall Newcastle having a scare in this cup tie.
Nothing. From the first minute, I know they've had shuffle the pack a bit, Brentford, with injuries, but they've not offered anything going forward at all.
While we wait for Brentford to have their first shot on target, Newcastle 2 shots on target and they've got the 2 goals.
It's been an easy game for them.
Offside against Mbumo, was it? No. Flag had stayed down. Infield to Wissa. Wissa now to Lewis Potter, joins the attack. Left corner of the penalty area. Livramento dived in and Lewis Potter got the shot away and it was beaten out at his near post by Dubravka. That might have had a few Newcastle fans wincing as Livramento went to ground.
It's been their best part of passage of play, hasn't it? Let's be honest. Kept the ball well, got it down the right, switched it to the left, goes on the outside. All right, they blocked the cross, but at least they were a bit more positive.
Damsgaard waits to take the corner kick. He's waiting for the arrival of Ayer and Collins up from the back. Crowded penalty area. Damsgaard to take it towards the far post. Fisted away by Dubravka. Taken on the chest then by Lewis Potter. Goes to ground under the challenge by Tonali. Counter-attack is on. Paul away on that far side, the left. Willock's ahead of him. Midway through the Brentford half on the left. Guimaraes also now running ahead. Willock comes inside, edge of the area, gets the shot away, and it was travelling too. And well saved in the midriff of goalkeeper Fleck, and 2-0 Newcastle.
Yeah, good counter-attack by Newcastle. Willock, who's come on, he's looked very lively since he come on. And a great spell at Newcastle, I think, before he got injured, didn't he? And he lost his way a bit, plays. He's got a lot of talent.
Midway through the second half, turnover in play. Isak to Gordon. Sorry, here is Isak. Isak with a shot charged down by Ayer. Behind for a corner kick for Newcastle United.
So easy for Newcastle. I've got to say, Newcastle can go through gears. Brentford stuck in reverse.
So in front of the Gallagate end, Gordon waits to take the corner kick on that far side, the left. 22 minutes remain. The home side lead by 2-0. 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Brentford have got everybody in and around their own 6-yard area, extremely congested, not much room for Flecken. As Gordon, arms aloft, clips it in, curling in, headed away by Ayer. Tonali volleys it, comes towards Hall, his effort is blocked. He's got Tonali if he wants him again. He tries to go for goal, saved, Guimaraes, and a tap-in by Sher. And Newcastle United have got the 3rd goal. It was almost walked in over the net, and they're walking their way through to the last 4 of the League Cup because they lead Brentford now by 3-0.
Simple goal, wasn't it? Just kept the pressure on. Kept the pressure on when the ball was bouncing around in the penalty area, and eventually, let's say Guimaraes did very so well just to pick him out. Just squared it. He could have been selfish, could have shot, could have lost his head a little, panic and shot, but he didn't. Kept his composure, just pulled it to the side. And it's a simple tap-in, isn't it? I mean, Brentford, big side, kind of deal with the corner, can't clear the ball at all. And when it comes to Guimaraes, who's just onside, gets the rebound. Very unselfish play.
So Newcastle United are leading Brentford 3-0. At Southampton, what's the latest? Chris Coles.
Southampton are right back in this game, now trailing Liverpool by 2-1. Cameron Archer, really well taken, cutting inside, onto his right foot, 15-16 yards out, bending into the top corner. Just what this game needed. Southampton 1, Liverpool 2.
Tight finishes elsewhere. Arsenal leading Crystal Palace 3-2. They're in the dying embers of that game. 7:30 kickoff. It was an 8 o'clock start at St Mary's. Commentary continues on Sports Extra. As here is Wissa with a turn and shot. He's absolutely skied it. Launched it in the air and a goal kick. Arsenal's women against Bayern Munich. Sahel Sahi.
And they're losing at home to Bayern Munich by 2-1. They were leading. Now they're trailing. The second from a corner, and once again the ex-Chelsea defender Magdalena Eriksson scooping low inside the 6-yard box. A lovely old-fashioned diving header. Arsenal 1, Bayern Munich 2.
To credit the Brentford support, not many of them appear to be leaving. High up in the gods, away towards our left. I mean, I dread to think what time those who are making the trip back to West London will get back into their beds in the early hours. It's got to be at least 5 hours, hasn't it?
Yeah, easy.
Here is Mbumo. Far side, Ruisley. Newcastle still showing the levels of desire from Hall to clear. Mbumo comes in field. Can't get there. Tonali will take it away from him. Keeps the ball very, very well, Sandro Tonali. Another goal in Arsenal women against Bayern in the Champions League. Sahel.
Arsenal have equalised within 60 seconds once again from a corner. It's the fourth goal that has come from the corners, and it's Alessia Russo who's been on fire. She's equalised with a right-footed volley. Arsenal 2, Bayern Munich 2.
Mark Flecken, he's only kept one clean sheet in 18 appearances this season. He's been beaten 3 times tonight. And Newcastle United now, they're in amongst the goals. 12 goals in their last 4 if you include this one.
Oh, listen, I think it's probably been one of the easiest games I've played this season. I can't remember Brentford really causing any type of problem.
And Mbeumo, right hand side of the penalty area with the cross. Wissa waits, can't get over it, and his header drops aimlessly wide of the right hand post for a goal kick and a shake of the head from Chris Waddle.
Well, I was expecting a lot more from Brentford tonight, quarter final of a cup.
The drama is elsewhere. Chris Coles.
That goal has transformed Southampton, so close to an equaliser. Brilliant ball in from the right-hand side, right in that corridor of uncertainty. Touch goalwards. Kelleher with a brilliant one-handed save to keep it at Southampton 1, Liverpool 2.
Arsenal still leading Crystal Palace by 3 goals to 2. And here, Newcastle United 3 goals to the good with 18 minutes remaining. Yarmouk. I mean, when it was 2-0, if Brentford had got a goal back, you're thinking might set up an interesting finale. You're only thinking it'd be a consolation if they could trouble Dubravka as the ball goes behind for a goal kick. How long have you got left at the Emirates, John Southall?
Got about 2.5 minutes. Arsenal 3, Palace 2. Jorginho's down with an injury. Arsenal have the ball. Palace need to get it. Have they got one last effort in them? Arsenal 3, Palace 2.
Jayden McHomer is going to be coming on. He made his first league appearance of his career at the weekend. Former Southampton youngster who they signed in the summer for £5 million. Made his debut in this competition against Lake Norien. So we've got a McHomer and a Maghomer coming on. So Jayden McHomer comes on, and then Paris Maghomer is coming on, who they signed from Tottenham. So there are the double changes being made by Thomas Frank, and I would imagine for Meghomer and Maghomer just an opportunity to give the youngsters some experience of playing in this competition, because the tie is over, isn't it, at 3-0 for Newcastle?
Listen, it's been no contest. Let's be honest. I think I've seen Newcastle play a lot better, don't get us wrong, but they've been far better than Brentford. Brentford have showed nothing tonight for me, nothing.
And Will Asula is going to be coming on for Newcastle United. So he is, again, another chance for him to get a little bit of a run out for Eddie Howe. And it feels just so comfortable, almost like a procession for Newcastle United. William Asula, who they signed from Sheffield United, the young Danish forward, still looking for his first goal for the club. And Kieran Trippier too is going to be coming on as well, as Brentford break with Ruislef far side, back towards Mbeumo. Midway through the half, sends over a cross, volleyed away by Byrne. Back to John Southall at Arsenal.
And I think that might be Palace's last chance. Arsenal 3, Palace 2. There's a corner over on the left-hand side. Henderson, the keeper, came up, but Raya punched it away. And I think that will be it for Palace. Arsenal 3, Palace 2.
Thank you, John. It's going to be a triple change being made for Newcastle United. We're going to see Kieran Trippier, Asula, and also Miguel Almiron, who made a substitute appearance against Leicester for the last 17 minutes, and that's his only game time that he's had since the end of October. Chances are he'll be moving on in the new year. Here is Barnes, his shot charged down, comes towards Isak. Plays it through to Barnes once again, turns in the penalty area, inside right channel. 3-0 to Newcastle, out towards Tonali. Cries of shoot from the crowd. Chips the ball, left-hand side. Hall passes the ball in field, runs through towards Barnes, looks for a shooting opportunity. Chips towards the far post, headed back by Collins for a corner kick to Newcastle. 14 minutes remain, they lead 3-0.
It's been easy for Newcastle all night, but it's even easier now. A lot of heads have dropped in the Brentford side. It's so easy for Newcastle.
Full time at Arsenal, John Southall.
Arsenal have held on. Arsenal 3, Palace 2. Palace 1 up at half-time. Gabriel Jesus with 3 second-half goals. First, a lovely dink finish. The second, he smashed into the left corner. Could have been offside, but no VAR. The third, Ødegaard with the assist inside his own half. Ran half the length of the pitch, kept his composure, and finished for his first Arsenal hat-trick. Eddie Nketiah got one back here at the Emirates for him, but it was ultimately a consolation. The last time Arsenal won the League Cup, 1993. They're into the semis. Arsenal 3, Palace 2.
You're a brave man mentioning that, bearing in mind that Chris Waddle's alongside me. He's just said the last time Arsenal won the League Cup was 1993. That was the year you were the runner-up, wasn't it? Sheffield Wednesday.
It's in the notebook, don't worry. I don't.
Triple change being made. Trippier comes on for Lewis Hall. Asula replaces Isak. And the other change is Anthony Gordon going off and Miguel Almiron coming on, with Newcastle United 13 minutes remaining and leading 3-0, and still the corner kick to be taken over on that far side. Gordon just walks and acknowledges the Gallagate end as he makes his way behind that goal towards our right hand side. Guimaraes to take it, in swinger, punched out, comes out towards Tonali, looking for the hat-trick, and then it was blocked by Paris Magoma.
Guimaraes puts a corner in with a lot of pace, in swinger, and the goalie doesn't deal with it great, gets his 2 hands on it, fists it away. Nobody's marking Tonali on the penalty spot, and could have been a hat-trick.
It could have been to seal what had been an excellent night's work for the Italian. Another corner kick. Guimaraes fires this one in. Needed the outstretched leg of Collins to get it away from the direction of the near post. Willock scoops it long. Almiron keeps it alive by flicking the ball high in the air. It drops, and it drops out of play for a goal kick with 12 minutes remaining. So Arsenal are the first side through to the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. Liverpool still have the slender lead at St Mary's by 2-1. Commentary tomorrow from Tottenham, Manchester United, all the build-up from 7. And then at the weekend, we've got 7 Premier League commentaries for you this weekend. West Ham Brighton at 3, Crystal Palace Arsenal at 5:30, they meet again. And then on Sunday, Everton Chelsea is at 2. Manchester United's on Sports Extra, and on the website we'll have commentaries of Fulham Southampton, Leicester Wolves, and then that's followed by Tottenham Liverpool at 4:30. That's just the football, let alone the Usyk Tyson Fury fight. Coverage from 9 o'clock. Mark Chapman will be in Riyadh from midday presenting 5 Live Sport on Saturday, as Tonali goes back and Cher hits it long, looking for Willock, headed away by Collins, kept alive by Almiron. Back it goes. Collins will play it back out towards Rueslev, who's calling for Flecken to come off his goal line, plays it down the line, and still Brentford yet to muster a shot on target.
It's just little battles in as well, Ian. I've been watching little player against player. They've not won any battles neither. It's been so easy for Newcastle.
Here is Trippier. Livramento has switched to left back with Trippier coming on for Hall. And so Livramento provides the width over on that far side. Very, very easy this for Newcastle United. Barnes, Guimaraes just outside the penalty area, side onto goal, almost queuing up on the left. Let's get it here of a chance at St Mary's. Chris Coles.
Taken by Federico Chiesa, placed really nicely on the edge of the 6-yard box, and he went for the cross rather than shooting. Still Southampton 1, Liverpool 2.
Osula inside to Guimaraes, carves the ball out towards that far side. Barnes hits it, rears up quite awkwardly for Collins, headed away by Yarmouk. Infield towards Tonali. Trippier plays it back. Still passing the ball quickly, aren't they, Newcastle?
I can't remember Brentford in the second half. I think they've been in Newcastle's penalty area about 3 times, if that. It's such an easy game. 2-0 down half time. Go and have a go. What you got to lose?
Eddie Howe, though, is applauding the work rate of his Newcastle players, as this is an opportunity now for Magoma to come forward. Ball slid in by Wissa for Mbumo, and it will go out of play for a goal kick.
Should have went Rozerslev coming on the right side. He was in, easy ball. He's tried to reverse to his strike partner and Boomer, but didn't work out. You've got to say, this is a game I don't think Thomas Frank will have time to dwell on. I think he's got to put it to history, put it to bed and say, we didn't turn up.
Yeah. And they will look to get back to their winning ways at Brentford and their home form. Home sweet home, it'll be a case of that when they return, as Barnes hits the post with a low effort. Hit it from distance as well, right-footed on the ground. This is Guimaraes who slips, headed away by Collins. Newcastle United just looking for the finishing touches to their progress to the last four with a fourth goal.
Yeah, if this had been 5-6, I don't think anybody would argue. You know, they've absolutely cruised through this game. And here we go again.
Cries of shoot for Cher into Almiron. Almiron has gone a year without a goal. He pulls it back to Tonali. He has an effort blocked. Well, they're leading 3-0. They've hit the post twice. Chris Waddle's quite right. Had it been 5 or 6, I don't think many people could have complained. Murphy hitting the post in the first half, Barnes in the second. And the Newcastle supporters are clearly enjoying their night here at St James's.
Yeah, rightly so. I mean, it's a quarter-final of a cup, and then, you know, you go into the semi-final on a good run of form at the minute. So, but yeah, I mean, Brentford have got problems. If they're going to play week in, week out, then they've got problems.
Ball is crossed, and it will be eventually cleared by Trippier. Newcastle United previously have progressed twice from 11 quarter-finals in this competition. On both occasions, they have reached a final, 1976 and 2023. Didn't win it, but they did at least get to Wembley. Will they get to Wembley in 2025? We'll find out. The draw will take place after tomorrow night's quarter-final tie at Tottenham, but 7 minutes remaining. Thing is, they're just looking for further goals here. There's no let-up from Newcastle, which I would imagine would please Eddie Howe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're enjoying it. They've kept the attitude. They're very professional, kept the tempo up. And as you say, let's be honest, if it was 5-6, I don't think anybody could argue with that.
We're on until 10:30 when Tony Livesey takes over on 5 Live. We'll try and bring you as much reaction as we can from tonight's ties, as this is Meg Homer on this near side the left as a step over, wins a corner off the legs of Trippier. Jayden McHomer making his 4th appearance for Brentford, so matching the tally that he had when he started out at Southampton. As Damsgaard waits with his hands on hips to take the corner kick on this near side. And we have 6 minutes remaining of normal time. Damsgaard, in it goes, headed out by Willock, drops to the edge of the area, and Mbeumo heads it to Damsgaard. Damsgaard now works over the cross, and the header is headed wide. It was Ben Mee who threw himself at it. Goal kick.
They'd be disappointed that didn't go in. He got a free header. He arrives spot on time. His good ball into the far post. And he just arrives, no challenge, and he's missed the target.
Popped up with 3 goals last season for Brentford.
Great ball in.
Yeah.
Just comes at the far post. Oh, disappointed there.
But still off target for Brentford.
Yeah. Oh, listen, they've really struggled tonight. Really struggled.
Here is Mee stepping out of defence and winning the ball against Almiron. Mee with a cross, and Mbeumo can't bring it under control despite his efforts to do so, but he does collect it on that right hand side of the penalty area. Under 5 minutes remaining. Ball stroked forward, and Mbeumo touches it. Ruislev crosses into the penalty area. Cher heads it away. Still those Newcastle, they've got the 3 goals, they've got a progression into the last 4, but they want to keep that clean sheet as well. They want the perfect scoreline in that respect.
That's what they want. They want the clean sheet as well.
And another corner kick for Brentford, but the pressure's coming far too late. Won't have any relevance in terms of the it would just be a consolation, and even then it's cleared away by Livramento. As Thomas Frank is in deep discussion with his coaching staff. To be fair to Thomas Frank, he never pulls any punches. He's always very honest when he talks after a game. Never likes to dress things up. As the ball is cleared away by Tonali, Asula lays it off into the path of Guimaraes with their peroxide dyed hair. Like they've been to the same barber, isn't it? Guimaraes and Asula.
Yeah.
Either that or they shared the same
Joe
bottle.
Linton.
Joe Linton.
Same.
They did a multi-buy. The bottle was being passed around in the dressing room. 3.5 minutes remaining. Liverpool still lead 2-1 in the Carabao Cup quarter-final. Here is Aya to me down the line. Almiron. Just thinking, they've got Aston Villa at home on Boxing Day, then they're away on the 30th. If he doesn't feature against Aston Villa on Boxing Day, this could be the final time that Almiron maybe plays at St James's Park when the January transfer window opens.
Yeah. Always quick.
Ball through the middle. Wissa against Cher. Wissa will get there first. Dubravka off his goal line. Straight at the keeper. Left-footed from the Brentford striker. Dubravka with a save.
Great pace to get away from Cher, but he's got to do better with the finish. It's a poor finish, that.
Now this game's currently on Sports Extra, but Chris Coles will provide us with the latest.
Southampton 1, Liverpool 2, 15 minutes to play. Liverpool have done a pretty good job of quelling what had been some good Southampton resistance. They were flying forward looking for an equaliser, but Liverpool have regained control, regained possession, and are 15 minutes away from a place in the semi-final. Southampton 1, Liverpool 2.
Thanks, Chris. From the throw, Brentford down the left-hand side. Magoma keeps the ball in play. Magoma will win a corner as his left-footed cross was blocked and charged down by Willock.
Well, Wizards just had a great chance which he should have scored. Poor finish, good save you can say at the goalkeeper. But all of a sudden now there's a lot of energy from Brentford and it's too late.
Far too late. Cross comes in from Damsgaard, flicked on by Magoma. Paris Magoma, who's got a brother Jacques who played for Birmingham and DR Congo, and another brother Christian who played for Aldershot. So this is a youngster who they signed from Spurs, has had loan experience at MK Dons and Wimbledon, and actually he had a loan spell at Bolton last year where he scored 9 times in his 50 appearances in League One. He's 23 years of age, 5'9", midfielder. As we enter the last 60 seconds of the regulation 90 here at St James's Park. Arsenal already through, and Newcastle United will be joining them. Liverpool holding to a 2-1 leader at Southampton, and then we'll see between Spurs and Manchester United tomorrow. Let's get an update from the darts. James Gregg.
Yeah, the second match of the night, the one that provided us with the 9-dart finish from the Dutchman Christian Kist, has actually ended in his opponent taking the spoils here. His Latvian opponent, Madars Ramza, then won the next 3 legs. He applauded the 9-dart finish, he loved it, but then quickly forgot about it. He himself is into round 2.
Newcastle United going into the last 4 as Magoma comes under pressure. Trippier dispossesses him, passes the ball down the line. This is Willock, he runs into me. That was Willock running into me, not me stopping the run of Willock, and the attack peters out. Who do you think that Newcastle United would want in the last 4?
Man United. I know Man United beat City at the weekend, and everybody says they're going to turn it around, but they're not there. They're not there yet. I think Newcastle would fancy the chances. I think if Arsenal put the full side out and Liverpool put the full team out, we know they came here and they gave them a right game, Liverpool, didn't it? But I'm sure they'd be looking at Man United.
Well, the thing is that we've got 3 minutes of added on time. Those 2 teams that you mentioned, as the ball is passed forward out towards Mbumo to Wissa. It's a consolation. In added on time, Mbumo to Wissa, and he tucks the ball in from close range, but too late.
Just shows you here now, great counter-attack, great break, good pace. Why didn't he play them 2 from the start? You know, I'm not just saying it. I know Newcastle come off the pace because they're 3-0 up, but the last 10-15 minutes, them 2 have caused a lot of problems together. I mean, now in the Premier League they score goals. So you've come here and you've experimented, and really you've got hammered. You know, Newcastle convincing winners for me. That's a consolation goal, obviously, but when you look at it, them two cause problems, so why don't you play them?
Yeah. Well, they were in the table, Brentford 11th and Newcastle 12th, and they are in a cluster of clubs as a shot goes wide from Guimarães, where from the top 6, from Bournemouth to Manchester United, you know, there's very little difference. One win and it can change, but at the end of the day, for clubs like Brentford and Newcastle, it's about winning silverware.
It is, but we know how big the Premiership is for money, and that is their main concern. So if it means giving this up to survive in the Premier League, they will. But if you look at the 4 teams what could be in the semi-final, are all big football clubs. So people do value it. But I just look Brentford, since they put the 2 strikers together again, I know Newcastle's probably come off the pace, but they've caused problems straight away, and they've scored a good goal.
Well, by my watch, we've got 60 seconds remaining. The ball is hit downfield and then headed back by Livramento in his penalty area to Dubravka. But too little, too late for Brentford. And only Thomas Frank will know the reasons why. I mean, we might try and find out if we can get that live reaction between 10:30 as to why he made the changes.
You enter a competition to win it, don't you?
Yeah.
Now, if you don't want to win it, put the reserves out and say, look, we don't want to be in it. So, you've went through penalty shootouts and everything to get to this stage, and then you turn up and think, well, you haven't turned up until 85 minutes, whatever it's been.
I think Eddie Howe showed his intent on winning this trophy by going with an unchanged side as Asula is hit over the top and he tries to latch onto it. Asula in the penalty area.
Oh, a tackle.
What a tackle. Great recovery challenge by Aya to get the block in just when Asula had peeled back the right foot and was looking for his first goal.
Well, we thought he was away, and from where I was sitting here I thought he's in, and it's just a matter of waiting for the net to buzz. But what a great recovery. Brilliant tackle.
Well, by my watch, the 93 minutes are up. We were playing a minimum of 3 minutes. Newcastle lead Brentford by 3-1. Liverpool still lead at Southampton 2-1, but there is the full-time whistle. 2 goals in the first half from Tonali. A tap in from Cher with 21 minutes remaining. Twice they hit the post and then whistle with a consolation. Chris Waddle.
Yeah, I've got to say, quite an easy inning for Newcastle. Quarter-finals and they'll probably get an easier game. Brentford come to life when they make the substitutions, put the A-team on and such players. Last 10-15 minutes they had a goal. Should have done it from the start for me, but that's been an easy game for Newcastle tonight, and they're in the semi-finals.
Newcastle then into the last 4. It's finished at St James's. Newcastle United 3, Brentford 1.
And we will bring you reaction from St James's Park with Ian and Chris, and hopefully we'll hear from either or both of Eddie Howe and Thomas Frank as well. We're on till 10:30 when Tony Livesey takes over. Try and hear from Mikel Arteta and or Oliver Glasner as well after Arsenal 3, Crystal Palace 2. But there is still plenty to play for at St Mary's. So let's join commentary of Southampton-Liverpool with Francis Benali and Chris Wise.
Steve, thank you very much. Southampton 1, Liverpool 2 is the scoreline here. So the team at the bottom of the Premier League are mounting a second half comeback against the 19-match unbeaten Liverpool, who were 2-0 up from first half goals from Darwin Núñez and Harvey Elliott. But a cracking finish from Cameron Archer just before the hour, and a brilliant save not long after that from Kelleher to deny Archer his second. And this much changed Liverpool team tonight, Franny Benali, for the first time tonight after a very cosy first 45 minutes, feel like they're rocking a bit and they're under pressure here. Long ball forward, Sugawara's ball across the box, blocked by Tsimikas, out for a Southampton throw deep inside Liverpool's half on the right. We've got 6 minutes to go and it's Saints 1, Liverpool 2.
Yeah, and they've just made a couple of changes as well in that little break. Ben Brereton Diaz coming on, as well as Adam Lallana. Jan Bednarek coming off, Joe Rebo coming off, and the Saints supporters are right behind their team now. And what an opportunity that was for Paul Onuachu. That was the one moment that you think, there's your chance to get back on level terms, and he just scuffed his effort.
Yeah, here comes the Southampton throw. Sugawara, it's in towards the very tall Onuachu. That's 6'7", and the flag is up for an offside. There was a cluster of bodies inside that penalty area. Impossible to see who exactly has been penalised. But just before you joined us here on 5 Live, as Franny was alluding to, what a huge opportunity for the substitute Paul Onuachu, still looking for his first Southampton goal. A pullback from Aribo, and he went to slide it in with his left foot, and he just got it all wrong, didn't he? he, Franny?
Yeah, I mean, he's a big player, and it's difficult. You sort of see him move around the pitch, and maybe not as sort of quick and as nimble as what a smaller player would be. You know, he's got those long limbs and long levers to try and move and react quickly to, and he didn't seem to be able to do that quick enough when the ball was rolled across the 6-yard box to him, and it's got to go down as a big chance.
I'll give you the teams in just a moment, because Morton is having to chase to keep that in play. He can't over in that right back area, so it's going to be a Southampton throw. Liverpool have just made the last of their 5 changes, by the way, and they have brought on Jayden Dans. So he's come on for Trainioni, the 17-year-old who's making his first Liverpool start tonight. Chiesa's on. He came on at half-time, his return to the Liverpool team. He's come on at half-time, first appearance since the 25th of September. In comes the Southampton throw into the penalty area, headed away by McConnell, and eventually out of play for a Southampton corner. So let's quickly go to that Champions League game tonight between Arsenal women and Bayern Munich. Sahel Sahi.
Arsenal are about to have a penalty, Chris. It's Mariona Caldente over the ball. The referee just making sure everyone's outside the penalty box. Arsenal 2, Bayern Munich 2. Whoever wins this game will finish top of the group, meaning they'll be seeded. Caldente, she's about to run up to strike the ball. It was her shot which was deflected away using a hand by Bayern Munich. Here she comes, right-footed. She puts Arsenal into the lead. They lead Bayern Munich by 3-2.
So Hal, thank you very much. So that means that Arsenal are going to top that group if things stay as they are. Elsewhere tonight in the EFL Cup, Arsenal 3, Crystal Palace 2, a hat-trick from Gabriel Jesus. Newcastle, if you've been hearing, at St James's Park, through to their latest League Cup semi-final, beating Brentford by 3-1. Sandro Tonali with a double in that game for them. And here, Southampton 1, Liverpool 2, though McCarthy, under pressure from Nunez, had to quickly shift that ball out of his feet. It's picked up by Jayden Dans, the Liverpool substitute on this left-hand side. Here's Jota. And now Tsimikas with the hair tied back, the Greek, who's back into the Liverpool team tonight. And with Jota as another one who's come off the bench for Liverpool. Nunez on the edge of the box, on his right foot, shoots, well blocked by Nathan Wood, the Southampton defender, got down on one knee, and the ball ricochets out of play, far right-hand side. It's a Liverpool throw, and we're inside the last 2 minutes, and Liverpool getting on with that throw quickly, trying to find a third goal to finish Southampton off. They've got it with McConnell. McConnell shoots, that's repelled, and up it bounces to Paul Onuachu, holding on to the ball for Southampton, and then getting it to the right-hand side for Sulemana, who's got a bit of time to turn and have a look and see what's on. He's now inside Liverpool's half, Kamaldeen Sulemana. He's getting away from Dans. He's extremely quick, Sulemana. Sugawara taking it on. Southampton going from left to right, trailing by 2-1. Fernandes, far post, Brereton Diaz's header, right at Kelleher. Just had to move a little to his left-hand side, Liverpool's Irish goalkeeper, to make a relatively routine save.
It's a more direct attack from Southampton, and the tempo and the pace of the game has certainly picked up in the second half of the game. And there's a ball into the box, could well have been an offside, but Brereton Diaz at the far post, trying to head back across goal, goes into the hands of Kelleher.
Here's Fernandes, 1-2 in midfield with Lallana. There was a late challenge from James McConnell, which out of everybody, I don't think Adam Lallana, the former Liverpool player, liked particularly. And then there's Fernandes, who was still getting back to his feet, was given the ball back when he didn't really want it because he was still trying to recover from the challenge. Gives it back to McCarthy, upfield it goes, out of play, Liverpool throw, halfway line, and now a yellow card for Liverpool's 20-year-old midfielder James McConnell, joined from Sunderland as an under-15 back in 2016, played in that EFL Cup final against Chelsea back in February for Liverpool. The champions 2-1 up here against Southampton. Last 30 seconds plus stoppage time in the swirling rain and the wind, Franny Benali, that have made conditions so difficult tonight at St Mary's.
Well, with Southampton getting that goal back from Cameron Archer, it's certainly lifted this game into more of a cup tie.
Here's Jota, support on the right-hand side. Nunez wants it in the middle, so does Dans. The low shot blocked on the line. I think McCarthy was beaten, and then the follow-up from Chiesa is deflected over the bar. It's going to be a corner. Southampton getting bodies in the way. They needed to do that. Chiesa so close to a Liverpool goal on his return. Liverpool have got a corner, and we're now in 6 minutes of stoppage time at 2-1.
Chiesa doing well, cutting in on his left-hand foot, potentially going past Alex McCarthy, and Harwood Bellis doing well on the line to clear it, and then it's Sugawara who got the second block in. The defending work to be done by Southampton. The direct balls into the box from corners and free kicks this evening have been picked up by the swirling wind, and we're going to see another long one in the box.
Yeah, Jota's corner, the punch from McCarthy, that was really authoritative from the Southampton goalkeeper. Almost got it up towards the halfway line. That's where McConnell, the Liverpool midfielder, is waiting. Now Tsimikas swings the left boot at it, closed down by Sulemana, who had to come off very early here at the weekend. Kamaldeen Sulemana, with Southampton's game plan in tatters against Tottenham, conceded 5 first half goals, but at 3-0 inside a quarter of an hour, Russell Martin changed the shape and took Sulemana off, which, as you can imagine, he was not particularly happy about. Tsimikas takes the throw into the feet of Jayden Danns, son of Neil Danns, who you might remember from a few years ago having a great career of his own, his dad at the top level. And it's another Liverpool throw. Tsimikas to take it from this left-hand side there. 2-1 up here, Liverpool. And Dan's doing well, holding off his man, giving it to Nunez. Ran into traffic, the Liverpool forwards. And now Southampton try and break, but it is Brereton Diaz. There's nobody really to find. He did well just to get that ball to Onuachu. And then Adam Lallana tries to play a pass, and it's hit Onuachu. And eventually it breaks for Harwood Bellis, who sweeps it very accurately out to the left-hand side for Manning. 2-1 Liverpool. And Saints trying to mount something in these final few moments to take this game to penalties. Remember, there is no extra time. Swung from the left out towards the right, too high for Diblin in that forward right wing position, and out for a Liverpool throw. Franny Benali.
It's a real shame from Southampton's perspective. Promising attack. Fernandes just trying to switch the ball out to Diblin on this right hand side. They're attacking the northern wall, the noisy part of St Mary's.
And Liverpool, who have left a host of big names back in Merseyside tonight. Salah, Van Dijk, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, Diaz. None of them are part of this Liverpool squad. Here's a long ball forward. It might bounce for Fernandes for Saints. Oh, Fernandes wants a penalty. It's waved away by Simon Hooper. It was Kwanzaa, I think, alongside Fernandes, who's ended up on the ground, who was in on goal, and much of St Mary's feel that should potentially have been, well, it would have been a red card, I think, for Kwanzaa. It might have been a penalty had it been in the box as well. What are your thoughts on that, Franny?
Well, it would be very interesting to see a replay of it again, but my reaction was it was a foul, and that's just not my allegiance to Southampton, but it certainly looked it from our position here in the stand, Chris. It'd be great to see another opportunity, but you're right.
Here come Liverpool. Jota in the box, Jota on the stretch, and did that take a touch on its way behind? It did. Sugawara with the defending. It's come off the Southampton man. It's going to be a Liverpool corner, but you can hear the boos coming from St Mary's. And now, Franny, you're having the first time to review this. Long kick forward from McCarthy. They were together, weren't they? Kwanzaa and Fernandes. Did Fernandes get ahead of Gerald Kwanzaa, the Liverpool defender there?
Well, he does, because I think the arm of the defender is across and over his shoulder. He's gone down fairly easy, but the referee's right there on the position. He waves it away immediately, but it's one of those decisions that could easily have gone either way.
Here comes the Liverpool corner. Out comes McCarthy. He's got a little bit on that to keep the ball moving in the direction that it was travelling. So it's on the left wing now with Chiesa, who's scrapping to make a bit of room for himself. He can't do that, but it is going to be a Liverpool throw. And we've played 3 of the 6 minutes of stoppage time. And Liverpool not in a great rush to take this throw. And Mateus Fernandes is still shaking his head here, and he's biting his Southampton shirt in frustration. The Saints midfielder.
Exactly. It's a foul. I think it's enough for a foul. It's anywhere else on the pitch it's given, I think.
He's channeled his frustration well there, though, Fernandes, because he's nicked that ball back off Darwin Nunez. So it's going to be a Southampton throw, and their right back area in stoppage time. Saints 1, Liverpool 2. If you're just joining us tonight on 5 Live, Nunez and Elliott with the Liverpool goals in the first half. The response from Cameron Archer with his goal just before the hour for Saints. Liverpool might be able to finish it here. It's over the top of the crossbar. Harvey Elliott from the edge of the box, too high. Southampton goal kick, and there might still be one chance in this game for Southampton, bottom of the Premier League, against Liverpool at the top on this 19-game unbeaten run.
Yeah, certainly in the early stages, Liverpool dominating the first half, taking that 2-0 lead, looking comfortable at half-time. And as we see so often, how a goal changes a game. It's shifted the dynamics of it. It's brought the supporters to life of both teams. It's brought the players on the pitch to life as well. And Southampton have been much more in it. They've showed much more in the second half than what they did in the first.
Arne Slot not on the touchline tonight. He's right behind us, and I mean that quite literally. He's 2 rows behind us, the Liverpool manager, in the press box here at St Mary's with his laptop in front of him. I can turn around and I can see him because he's only about a metre away from me as Sugawara switches it for Southampton from the right out to the left. Here's Manning. We're in the 6th minute of stoppage time. Saints 1, Liverpool 2, so it has to happen here for Southampton if they're to get an equaliser. Kwanzaa clears it away. It's up to the halfway line. Jota's got it for Southampton, for Liverpool, trying to push it on for Nunez, who's held off his marker, Darwin Nunez. He's got options in the middle. Liverpool might be able to finish the game here. Nunez has run into some trouble. He's given it to Dans. He's got it back. He's shot low. It's wide of the post. It's a goal kick, but that is the 6 minutes of stoppage time minimum played. So this is it now for Saints. It's a goal kick, but McCarthy needs to move it quick.
Yeah, probably going to be the full-time whistle any moment, but Southampton is certainly going to look back on that incident feeling that Liverpool should have been a man down, and there it is.
Liverpool into the semi-finals of the League Cup, and for Arne Slot, a smile on his face as he is shepherded away from us, just behind us in the press area, by a couple of security guards, the Liverpool manager. He is on course perhaps for a trophy-laden season in his first campaign as Liverpool manager. Nunez and Elliott with the first half goals. Liverpool were very comfortably 2-0 up at half-time. Cameron Archer's great strike for Saints made it interesting in the second half. Plenty of fight from Southampton off the back of the departure of their manager Russell Martin at the weekend. But ultimately, Franny Benali, quality's run out, and it's the team at the top of the Premier League who've gone through to the last 4.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. And Liverpool, firstly, with the changes that they've made tonight, it's worked out well for them, progressing through to the semi-finals. They've given minutes in legs to players that wouldn't normally be playing if it was going to be Slot's strongest lineup. So there's lots of positives that Liverpool will take from tonight, not just progressing in the competition. From Southampton's perspective, first half was pretty non-existent, needed to be much better in many ways. Understandably difficult circumstances that they're under with Russell Martin having left and Simon Rusk taking the team for the first time. But second half was much better. A wonderful goal from Cameron Archer. They've got to look back on what they did in the second half to try and move forward in the Premier League.
Yeah, great encouragement, I think, for Southampton, the fact that they have given some fight to Liverpool tonight, but this is a very well-oiled, slick Liverpool machine, even with all the changes tonight. And they're into the last 4 of the League Cup. It's finished Southampton 1, Liverpool 2.
I suppose, Franny, you have to say that Arne Slot got his team selection bang on in the end based on that.
Exactly, that's right. Yeah, your team selections always get questioned if the result doesn't go your way, and it has done for Liverpool tonight. Southampton, by getting that goal back, it made it a little bit tense and nervous for Liverpool at times, and there was 1 or 2 opportunities. Onuachu's none more so. The decision that they could have got where there was potentially a red card that could have been given. Those little things have gone Liverpool's way. They've progressed in the competition. Been some good performances from the players, and yeah, it's worked out well for Arne Slot.
I'm not sure it's worked out too badly for Southampton, and hear me out on that. Given we know what the focus of their season is going to be from now on, they did need something positive. They certainly got something positive tonight, didn't they?
First half they didn't, I felt. It was not a great first half from Southampton's perspective, finding themselves 2 goals down, not really laying a glove on Liverpool at that point. but then in the second half it was better. A few substitutions, a few changes, just livened it up a little bit, and then Cameron Archer's goal lifted the stadium, lifted the team themselves, and all of a sudden it put Liverpool on the back foot a little bit, and it became more of an even game. So, as you say, certainly take those positives from the second half for the rest of the campaign.
Right, thank you very much both for the time being. We're going to hear more from Chris and Franny between now and 10:30. Tony Livesey takes over at 10:30. Before that, we're going to react to all of tonight's football. So Southampton 1, Liverpool 2, Newcastle 3, Brentford 1. We'll be back with Ian Dennis and Chris Waddle at St James's Park. I can already tell you we'll definitely be hearing from the Newcastle manager, Eddie Howe. We will also be hearing from Gabriel Jesus after his hat-trick for Arsenal tonight. Arsenal 3, Crystal Palace 2. We'll hear from the Crystal Palace head coach, Oliver Glasner, as well. These are the sounds of the Women's Champions League. What a game it was between Arsenal and Bayern Munich. Sahel Sahi.
Yeah, really entertaining evening here, Steve. It finished Arsenal 3, Bayern Munich 2. They finished top then, Arsenal, their group, with their 8th straight win in all competitions. All 5 goals coming from set pieces, 4 corners and 1 penalty kick. The lead swung back and forth, only for Mariona Caldente to earn a penalty with 4 minutes remaining. She missed from the spot on the weekend in the WSL against Liverpool, but she made no mistake this time. Renée Slagers, she continues to sprinkle her magic dust on this Arsenal side. Full time, Arsenal 3, Bayern Munich 2.
The other game tonight finished Barcelona 3, Manchester City 0. So we'll be back reacting to all of tonight's League Cup quarter-final ties after the news with Dan Maudsley.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
The man who led the offensive that toppled the Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad less than 2 weeks ago, Ahmed al-Shara, says Syria is exhausted by war and is not a threat to the West. In his first formal broadcast interview since he took power, he told the BBC that sanctions on his country should be lifted. He's been speaking to our international editor, Jeremy Bowen.
Ahmed al-Shara said HTS was not a terror group. It did not target civilians or civilian areas. He denied he wanted to turn Syria into a version of Afghanistan. He said he believed in education for women. He was wearing civilian clothes and tried to offer reassurance to all those who believe his group has not broken with its extremist past. The actions of Syria's new rulers in the next few months will indicate the way they want to rule Syria.
Nearly 60,000 homes in and around Southampton are without water because of a fault at a supply works. Southern Water has apologised to customers but says the problems could last into the final weekend before Christmas, leaving homes, schools and businesses without a supply. A senior officer in counter-terrorism policing has warned of a smouldering terrorism threat in the UK. Deputy Assistant Commissioner Vicky Evans said 3 attacks had been interrupted in the late stage of planning in the last 12 months. She warned that instability in Syria and young people being radicalised online were adding to the problem. The head of NATO has said the alliance should focus on sending more arms to Ukraine and avoid discussing in public the terms of a possible future ceasefire. Mark Rutte was speaking in Brussels before talks involving several European leaders.
I believe what we should focus on now is making sure that Ukraine gets to this position of strength. And if we now start to discuss amongst ourselves what a peace deal could look like, we make it so easy for the Russians.
And freight has been rerouted and families have been left to find alternative routes home for Christmas after the announcement that Holyhead Port will be closed until mid-January. The port was damaged by Storm Dara.
In 2024, we were here for the gritty ones.
The adrenaline was building up in me.
With gripping true crime podcasts.
People can shock you all the time.
Dead Man Running.
The word was out.
A wanted man may have staged his disappearance.
Intrigue to catch a scorpion.
Scorpion actually really does look scary.
I mean, how do you get to be that feared?
And how are we going to get near him?
And Gangster.
It was an organised hit in the middle of his heartland territory.
The best of 2024 is here. Listen on BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sport
with Steve Crossman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Tony Livesey is on the way at 10:30. Between now and then, we'll wrap up tonight's football. 3/4 of the lineup for this year's League Cup semi-finals is complete. We'll bring you full commentary on Thursday night of Tottenham versus Manchester United. That will be to see who joins Arsenal, who beat Crystal Palace 3-2 thanks to a Gabriel Jesus hat-trick. We're going to hear from him shortly. Liverpool, the holders, they won 2-1 at Southampton. And these are the sounds of St James's Park, where Newcastle had the easiest night of the lot against Brentford. Ian Dennis.
Yes, extremely comfortable. The margin of victory could have been far greater. I don't think anybody could have complained had it been 5 or 6. As well as the 3 goals that they scored. They hit a post in each half, Murphy in the first half and Barnes in the second. But they never really looked back after Tonali with a sweet strike put them ahead after 9 minutes. It was an instinctive effort, right-footed, and he added it too with another fine goal, a right-footed volley 2 minutes before half-time. And then the third goal came 21 minutes from the end, well worked. It was Hall with a shot that was saved. Guimaraes then just squared it, pulled it back, and it was a tap-in for Cher. And Brentford, who rarely laid a glove on Newcastle United, did manage to get a consolation through Wissa in injury time.
And we can hear live from the Newcastle manager, Eddie Howe's with Rob Schofield.
Thank you, Steve. Eddie, very comfortably through to the semi-finals. How pleased are you with that?
Yeah, really pleased. I thought good performance from the players. Difficult game. Every game brings a unique challenge. I thought Brentford were everything that we thought they would be. They're a strong team. But we scored some really good goals. Great to see Sandro score the 2 that he did. Just a really good feeling about the group at the moment. I think we're building in confidence all the time.
2 real quality finishes from Tonali. But all round, are we starting to see the best out of him now?
Yeah, we are. I think the tweak in position has definitely helped him. He looks a lot more comfortable, deeper on the pitch. Very, very intelligent player. All the qualities that we knew when we signed him. It was just about finding the right balance for him and for the team. And it's good to see him, Bruno, Joelinton, Joe Willock, all play well today in the middle of the pitch. It's such an important area, goes without saying. Your midfield sort of wins and loses your games, and at the moment they're doing really well for us.
Yeah, you spoke about the Leicester game going into this one, wanting a turning point, wanting to put a run together. As you say, you're starting to see evidence of that you can really kick on now and like you say, get that run that you're after.
Well, I think the balance of the team looks good at the moment. I think we've got players playing in their positions and playing well. We look creative again. I think there was a spell where we sort of lost our attacking impetus. Attacking relationships weren't there for a couple of weeks, but again, a high number of shots today, high number of chances to score. And that is really the game. You need the confidence in the front players and the whole team to deliver opportunities for you, and that's great to see.
You were without Sean Longstaff tonight. You'll be without Bruno and Fabian Cher for the first leg of the semi-final. How frustrating is that becoming discipline at the moment?
Yeah, it is, but I think it goes with the territory. I think we're a competitive team. We encourage the duels and the physical intensity with the way that we play. You can't have everything. Disappointed with the bookings, disappointed to lose such key players, but we have to roll with it.
And just finally, 2 semi-finals in this competition in 3 years. If we are looking slightly broader, evidence for you of real progress in the club moving absolutely in the right direction?
Yeah, I think the cup competitions are important to us. I think the testament to the players' attitudes. These games aren't easy. You have to do the hard work in the early rounds to survive. We've done that again this year. The semi-finals are going to be tough. You look at the teams left in. But that's where we want to be in amongst these last stages of the big competitions.
Great stuff, Eddie. Back to you, Steve.
Eddie Howe live there with Rob Schofield on 5 Live after Newcastle's 3-1 win over Brentford. So Ian Dennis inside St James's Park alongside Chris Waddle. Chris, we'll talk about Sandro Tonali in a moment, but I mean, goodness me, Brentford didn't half make it easy for Newcastle tonight.
Yeah, I was just surprised how Eddie Howe said, had to work hard, and our good side Brentford are. Yeah, maybe on certain weeks they are, but tonight they were terrible. So
he wasn't going to say they were terrible, though, was he?
No, but he should have said, I was surprised Brentford did, what turned up. I would have said we expected more, and we did. It's a quarter-final of a cup. As I said earlier, you lose, you go home, you're out. And, until he brought in Boomer on, he played alongside Wissa up front for the last 15 minutes. They started to create a little bit, but up till then, it was a non-event. It was just one team had turned up. And, listen, that'll give them a lot of confidence. If they can put a nice little run together going into the semi-finals, then this is what they need. When you're a team who play on the front foot and you've got a lot of talented footballers in your team, you need confidence and you need results, and you know that you're creating and you're scoring, and it gives more confidence. And that's what we saw in Newcastle a while back, when they were challenging top 4 and everything. That's what they're all about, and they lost that. And but it seems to be coming back.
I should say as well, Ian, I think I'm right in saying that makes Eddie Howe the first Newcastle manager since Sir Bobby Robson to get to 2 Major Cup semi-finals. Sorry, that wasn't a quiz question. I'm pretty sure that's right because I read it somewhere.
Right, yeah. Well, I will bow to. I
appreciate it. But I mean, it's great company, isn't it?
Well, it's what the ultimately if they can get they want to get a trophy. That's what the fans have been craving for such a long time. 70 years it'll be. I don't think they did themselves justice when they played Manchester United in the final in 2023. So I think if they get back to Wembley on this occasion, I mean, albeit they've got to try and get past what undoubtedly is going to be a difficult semi-final lineup. But if they can get to Wembley on that occasion, then they'll want to do themselves justice come March the 16th.
The reason I mention it, Chris, is that I think if you sort of rewind to the Sir Bobby era and them getting to 2 semi-finals, it wouldn't have mattered who the opponent was tonight. St James's would have been absolutely bouncing. It was a little bit flat, and I don't know if that's partially because there wasn't that much jeopardy because they won so comfortably, or whether there is an expectation that this is exactly what they should be doing.
No, I just think that they after 10-15 minutes you could see where the game was going, and I think the fans could. I think they didn't need to get behind them. They weren't under pressure. They were never looking like they were going to concede. They were in control of the game. So you could fail around the ground. There was no nerves, no edginess. The advantage they've got going into the semi-finals as well is that the other teams who are in the semi-final are all in Europe. And it's more games and testing your squad, and you get injuries, and with Newcastle it's the Premier League, go as high as you can, rightly so, and you've got 2 cups to go for. You've got a free hit at them, and this is a big advantage as well because these teams will be playing European games, and again you're testing your squad out all the time, and all of a sudden the semi-final of the League Cup pops up and you think, do we rest players? Do we go for the Europe? Do we go for the other one? Do we try and get Champions League? So there's a lot will happen in the next few weeks before they play this semi-final. So, but Newcastle's in a good position.
Kasher and Guimaraes will be suspended for that first leg, which is the week commencing the 6th of January. But as Chris quite rightly says, the Champions League match day 7 is around the 21st, 22nd of Jan. And then the final night, when they all play together, is the 29th of Jan. And then the following week will be the return legs, week commencing the 3rd of February. So for those teams in European competition, as Chris says, that is going to be a very, very hectic start to the new year.
It's also going to be, Chris, a time of year when Newcastle fans will be hoping that the squad gets stronger and they spend money in this kind of thing. And I think we already know that that's going to be very difficult, which just makes it more important that one of their world-class players, in Sandro Tonali, looks increasingly like he's finding his feet. Eddie Howe said he's playing slightly deeper.
Yeah, he is. I've always said with Newcastle that they've not had a holding midfield player for a while now. You're looking back at David Batty and players like that who used to sit and protect the back 4 and was always available to get on the ball from the back 4, and they've not had that under Eddie. They've always played 3 midfield players who are attracted to the football, and they go off running and want to score and want to join in and create. And I used to feel for the 2 centre halves because they were exposed a lot, and the better the teams you play, the more exposure you can get. But Tonali, when he's fit and as he has at the minute, he plays just in front of that back 4, and it's a great position for him.
Stand by, Chris. We can hear live from the Liverpool manager Arne Slot after their victory at Southampton, speaking to Chris Wise.
He is Arne. Well done. Good win. Much changed team. Difficult conditions. What did you make of it?
The question already gives the answer. It wasn't easy circumstances to play in because of the wind, of course. But it was a very good and important win for our team because you saw a lot of players that maybe normally don't start. You see a few players that have had an impact already. So for us to have these players playing a game is important, especially if they win it, and a few of them, maybe most of them, played in a really good way as well.
It was a makeshift team and at time a very makeshift defence. In that second half, how pleased were you that by and large you repelled the Southampton threat?
Yeah, it doesn't matter that much what your last line is if you have the ball as much as we had in the first half, so then you have control in ball possession. Second half, that control wasn't as much there as in the first half. So yeah, then your defenders are a bit more exposed, especially if they're not defenders in some situations. But they handled the situation really well. I think we conceded maybe 1 or 2 chances in the second half, it wasn't. The second half was not as good as the first half, but it was in the end enough to bring the win over the line.
And a watching brief from the press box for you personally. How did you find that?
Not ideal, of course, because you want to be there down the line to help the players, maybe to influence them even a bit more. But what is also true is that you have a very good overview of the game, and but I have such a good staff that even if I wasn't around, these 3, Sipke, John and Aaron, could have handled them themselves. So and then I have also good players. So actually I'm quite used to this club now.
And through to the semi-finals. I know it's a few weeks away, but do you anticipate bringing some of your big guns back for the semi-final, or will you still look to play maybe some of the players that aren't playing as frequently?
It depends on where we are at that moment and how many games we play at that moment. I don't know exactly now when the games are being played. So till now it's been really useful for us, for the players that haven't played that much, to get some playing time. And let's see how we will do, what decisions we will make in, is it February?
January, February.
But for now, it's been also a good league for us to get some playing times for players that haven't played that much.
Appreciate your time, Steve.
Arne Slot live on 5 Live Sport. We'll be back with Ian Dennis and Chris Waddle shortly at St James's Park when we hear from Thomas Frank. But given we've just heard from the Liverpool manager, let's speak to your commentary team, which is Chris Wise and Francis Benali. Chris Wise, I did just say that was you interviewing Arne Slot. It was very much Chris Cole's, but it was a good interview. So if you want to take credit, you can.
I was going to say the questions were far better than anything I come up with, Steve. So I'll fully jump on that credit.
Before we do anything else, guys, can I just ask you both what it is like to do a commentary with the Liverpool manager sitting a metre away from you? Because he was actually in the stands.
Well, I'll say this first of all. It took us 45 minutes to even realise he was there.
Right.
I have to be honest with you, Steve. He was behind us. He came up on the screen. You know, you get the little screens in the press box, and we saw him there. But I had no idea where he was in the stadium. And it turns out that he's literally over our right-hand shoulder. Like you can see freckles on his face. That's how close you are to him.
It was Chris that actually spotted him, Steve. You know, my vision was very much like my playing days, completely non-existent. So I had no idea he was there.
But I tell you, it's a good job he came to the press box here at Southampton now and not about 3 months ago, because it's recently had a revamp and it's far more plush here than it was with the little flip desks that they had here back in August. So he's picked his moment well.
First world problems, Chris. It's actually a shame that Liverpool was so good in the first half in that sense, because if they'd had a bad half and you were slaughtering them with the Liverpool manager just behind you, that might have been fun.
It would have been, yeah. I don't think he would have been so receptive to those questions that weren't my questions, would he, afterwards, if that had been the case?
He looked pretty relaxed, to be honest.
Well,
you know, the times that I glanced over my shoulder, you know, all throughout the game, he there was never any time that he seemed sort of too tense or worked up at it, and clearly in contact with the touchline team. So he'll be thrilled that they've gone through.
But Franny, Southampton under Simon Rusk, who's the interim there, they certainly gave them a game in the second half. They gave them a lot to think about, albeit obviously they were on the wrong end of the scoreline.
Yeah, I mean, there's the frustration of clearly going out of a cup competition at this stage, but there's positives that they can and should take from the second half, most certainly. You know, there's very much that sort of little bit just going through the motions somewhat in the nicest way in the first half. Liverpool taking that 2-0 lead. You know, a little bit fortuitous in certain ways. That deflection from Elliott's shot for the second goal coming off Ryan Manning, the touch that Jan Bednarek got for Nunes' goal, you know, a little bit fortunate, and then McCarthy slipping, but you know, very dominant from Liverpool in that first half with all the changes that they made, and they progressed in the competition. But Southampton have got clearly the major focus now is back on Premier League survival, and you know, the appointment of a new manager coming in, which I think, you know, the team behind the scenes at Southampton will be working. You know, they've got to get him in quick. You know, this is a position that can't be not filled as soon as possible, because whoever's coming in, and there's a number of names that Chris touched on in the comms about who's being linked with it, and there's always that speculation, but whoever does come in, hopefully it's got to be very soon to then work with the squad and the team to stay up this season, because there's a huge amount of work to be done.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, both Francis Finale there with Chris Wise, and thanks to Chris Coles. And we'll hear from Chris Waddle, who's at St James's Park where Newcastle beat Brentford. Here's their manager, Thomas Frank.
On the night we met a team that was better than us, so they won fair and square. I think the disappointing thing is that we conceded 3 goals. I think it's soft goals that we need to do better. That irritate me and disappointing. We actually, I think, I know it sounds crazy, but besides the 2 goals first half, they had nothing. We couldn't defend it well, and if you were here, and yes, we maybe didn't create that much, but we played at St James Park against a very good team, and sometimes a game is 2 halves, and you stay in the game, and is a cup tournament, a cup tie quarterfinal, and then you hopefully can be even better in the second half. We gave two bad goals away, and then the third one, unfortunately, as well. And because we scored that beautiful goal, the 3-1, so imagine that was only 2-1. Then we know the pressure will build. Last 4 or 5 minutes, you never know what can happen. So that's the irritating part. But it is what it is.
You lost Vandenberg in the warm-up, and then Ethan Pinnock kind of early on there. I mean, to what degree did that impact the game plan at all, or just very disruptive, perhaps?
I think, of course, there's a reason why we picked him to play. So we got a minor, and we don't know. It's a growing injury, so we don't know how it will be. We'll assess him tomorrow. But Nathan coming in was, like for like. So, Nathan played more or less all of games. Of course, Ethan has been our, I think, best centre back over the last 5 years. Was a blow. Hamstring, again, we don't know how much or how big it is.
Brentford boss Thomas Frank speaking to Rob Schofield at St James's Park. Chris Waddle and Ian Dennis still there. I think, Chris, actually, given the team selection and the changes and the performance, as good as that interview was, we could have stopped it after the noise he made right at the start of it, where he just went, ugh. It was that kind of night.
Yeah. Listen, he was honest. I like what he said. The best team won. We didn't turn up really. He was honest what he said. And he even said, look, when I put the other centre forward on and boom, he scored a good goal and we looked a bit threatening, but you think, well, why didn't you start them? And when you come here, the one thing you've got to have is a game plan of you've got to match. We know Newcastle like to press and play high and take risks and really go for it, and you've got to be able to stand that. But you've got to have a go at Newcastle. You've got to start the tempo like them, and you've got to have a go. You can't sit back and wait to see what happens in a game of football, especially when you come places like this. You've got to be brave, and Brentford tonight, we're not.
I know, Ian, you sort of think about those Brentford fans, and fair play to them for making that long trip, and the weather was rubbish and all that kind of thing. If I was a Brentford fan, I think I might think, well, we're probably not going to be in a relegation fight. So is it really necessary when we're not in Europe to make so many changes?
Yeah. We speculated about that during the game. You don't know whether he's given assurances to Ben Mee, who'd started every game in the League Cup, even tonight, obviously. Whether he's felt that he needs to get a run out, and also for managers to give players playing time as well. You don't know about those balances. Obviously Eddie Howe was clear with his intent on winning the competition by going with an unchanged side, but they're the conversations that we don't know. I don't know whether he was asked about that in the press conference at all. Thomas Frank, I do know he was asked about. He's gone on and said to the written media. I saw something from Simon Bird on his social media from the Daily Mirror that said lovely words from Brentford boss Thomas Frank. Newcastle can win it. I said to Eddie, I hope they can win it. We need a change. It would mean more to the Newcastle fans than the rest. And I think that just sums up Thomas Frank. He was typically honest, which I knew he would be. I said that in commentary when he's been speaking there to Rob Schofield. Never tries to gloss over things. Never tries to pull the wool over people's eyes. And there again, he's given an honest answer about how it would be great for Newcastle United to win this competition. So in that sense, full credit to Thomas Frank.
Yeah, which is why every time a managerial vacancy comes up at a big club, you hear his name mentioned. Thank you very much, both Ian Dennis and Chris Waddle, your commentary team at St James's Park. So Newcastle through, Liverpool through, full commentary of Manchester United versus Tottenham on Thursday. That leaves us with Arsenal, who beat Crystal Palace 3-2 tonight. Big night for Gabriel Jesus. Scored a hat-trick. As many goals tonight as he'd managed in his previous 39 games. And he's been speaking to John Southall.
I'm feeling good. It's always good to score goals. I said, I heard number 9 of Arsenal, so I have to be scoring goals, like obviously Kai as well. We are the strikers of the team, so we have a pressure, but that's it. If you wanna challenge for this, we have to try to keep scoring. Obviously it's not easy. Otherwise there'll be a lot of strikers in the world, but it's not easy. But we try. So yeah, I'm happy with the goals, but I'm more happy with the win. Put us to the semi-final. I think first half we didn't play good, but we stay positive, we stay strong, and then second half obviously we create more, and then we could finish the action.
How important is it for you to get the hat-trick tonight? You've been through long spells without scoring, so for you, for your own belief, I suppose, to get the goals.
Yeah, you know what? This will be always a question if people who watch the game, not most of the people, but a lot of people don't watch the game, just go there after the game and see the stats, like the striker who score, but a lot of people, they don't watch the games. Maybe we won 1-0, I make a very good action, make assist, and then we won the game. Obviously I want to score a lot, I want to score every game, like all the wingers in our team, the midfielders, even the central backs on our team, they want to score. But sometimes it's hard. Sometimes we don't have a chance. We don't get the chances. Like I said, I think before Monaco, when I played a few games and I didn't get chances, and then people don't watch the game and just see, oh, Gabi played 20 games in the season and he scored 1. But they don't see. A few times I come in like for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I come in like against Man City. I come in as a left wing back. I help more than attack. So people, is always looking for stats. But I understand, again, I'm playing for Arsenal, huge club who want to win the Premier League. I come here to win the Premier League, and then we was there for details for my first 2 seasons. So yeah, this 3rd season I want to win as well, like next year. But obviously the pressure to score goals will be always there. Even if I score 10, they're gonna ask to score 20. If I score 20, they're gonna ask to score 30. It's the life, you on your job, you want to, work more, work hard to get promotion. So that's the life, but like I say, I'm working very hard to put myself, because I know I have quality to finish the action and to score.
He knows you well, John Southall. You have graduated from those 0-0s at Palace a few years ago.
Well, I was here on Saturday, in fairness.
What a great talker! Yeah, brilliant interview, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and he's right that people don't see what he does when he doesn't score goals. But I think he'd also admit that he hasn't started as many games as he'd like. He's been injured as well, and he does need to score more. Before coming into this. It was 1 goal in 33 games before tonight. So, that's not enough. I know he's only come on for maybe 5-10 minutes in some matches, but, he's a centre forward and should be scoring more. So this'll do a lot for him, I think. It'll be interesting to see if he starts against Crystal Palace again on Saturday. I mean, it was a great hat-trick. The first one was a lovely dink finish over the goalkeeper. The second, also on the rise of the area, smashed into the left corner. And then the third, he ran from the halfway line, kept his composure and finished it off. I mean, absolutely brilliant. And I suppose, everybody's talked about your Arsenal centre-forward. Well, there's your Arsenal centre-forward tonight. But can he do it in the next game?
I do think it's fascinating because, especially in, not his mother tongue, what he's done there is a really, really good job of explaining why it hasn't necessarily been going his way, but at the same time saying, I get it,
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, absolutely right. And before that answer, he'd given us about another 5 minutes before that as well. And it was a great interview, and he explained it really well. He said people shouldn't just look at the goals. It's not all about the goals. There's more to me than goals. But ultimately, I think he also said, look, I play for Arsenal. I play for a big club like Arsenal. People expect goals, and I expect goals as well. So I think tonight, could be really important for him. Also, just to say, Oliver Glasner came in. He wasn't quite as chipper. I think it's probably fair to say that. He said that he thought his side lacked bravery tonight, which was interesting from him.
Yeah, well, why don't we hear from him? Here's Oliver Glasner with John.
Oh yes, with
very good start with the early goal, but I think overall today we didn't mention it before the game. We have to perform on our top level, and I think we didn't perform on our top level with the whole 90 minutes. So we missed several percentage in out of possession, with especially then it started in the first half, but then especially in the second half it's a half attacking, half being in the shape, giving them too much space, and especially in possession we were not brave enough today with the movements. We didn't demand the ball. We didn't support our teammates in possession. What it needs to release from their press and from their pressure, and so then it's just a question of time when they score with all their qualities. And what's positive is that we, even when we were 1-3 down, we played forward, came back with an amazing goal of Adrian Ketia, but at the end I think that Arsenal deserved to win.
Why do you think your players didn't reach those levels tonight that you ask of them, especially? I mean, it's a really big quarter-final game.
Oh yes, I think we had a little bit too much respect. It looked like after 1-0 up, and it's not nothing to do. The mentality was here because otherwise, when you are 1-3 down, you don't come back. So everything that's. I know there was great boys, but I think we need more belief in ourselves in some situations, especially here. When always when we did this, then it looked better, and when we were too cautious, they were too good.
Oliver Glasner, and it is worth having a word on Eddie Nketiah, I suppose, John, not just because it was a brilliant header, but also because it fits neatly into the Arsenal striker discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. When the Arsenal fans saw that, they must have thought, oh my goodness. Yeah. And when he came on, actually, he got a lovely reception, a standing ovation from the whole of the stadium, and quite rightly so. He was a youth player here, back in North London. Really good header. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah.
He rose really well and put it into the bottom corner. One other thing to say about tonight, the dynamic now for the game on Saturday at Selhurst Park. I think it's a 5:30 game, isn't it? Arsenal obviously made 8 changes to their starting 11, and Crystal Palace pretty much played their strongest 11 tonight, bar one player. So they've been able to rest quite a few players, bring them on when they needed them, and ended up winning the game. So it's going to be difficult, I think, for Palace to go again on Saturday.
Thank you very much, John. That's John Southall. So, Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool, that's 3 of your League Cup semi-finalists. The final one will be decided live on 5 Live tomorrow night, Tottenham versus Manchester United. There's more on the story with Marcus Rashford, his interview with Henry Winter, the reaction today from Ruben Amorim. You can hear that on the Football Daily podcast a little bit later. In the Women's Champions League tonight, it was the last round of group games. Manchester City finished runners-up in their group. They lost 3-0 to Barcelona, who ended up with a total of 26 goals, so they topped the group on goal difference above City. Arsenal women beat Bayern Munich 3-2 at Meadow Park. Sahel Sahi was watching.
Yeah, it was a seesaw evening, 2 evenly matched teams. Arsenal took the lead from a corner, set pieces dominating and proving to be the theme of the game. Bayern equalised and then took the lead via corners. Ex-Chelsea defender Magdalena Eriksson grabbing both. Arsenal fought back. Alessia Russo pulled them level, and then with 4 minutes left, up stepped Mariona Caldante to earn a penalty and then win the game from the spot, taking Arsenal to the top of the group.
Could we end up with an all-English quarter-final then?
Very much, Steve. Arsenal, let's start with them. They can play Manchester City, Wolfsburg or Real Madrid. As for Manchester City, they can face either Chelsea, Arsenal or Lyon. And Chelsea, they'll play either Manchester City, Wolfsburg or Bayern Munich. So it looks likely we'll have an all-English clash in the quarterfinals.
And the draw is made on the 7th of February. Last but by no means least, let's get the latest from the 4th night of action at the World Darts Championships at the Ali Pali. James Gregg.
Steve, it's been an absolutely crackers session. Oh my goodness me. First up, the Welshman Jim Williams, hot favourite in that first match, knocked out surprisingly by Paolo Nebrida, who kept his cool. 96 checkout to do it. His first win here at Ali Pali. And then in the second match of the night, a really special evening for everyone in the arena, thanks to Dutchman Christian Kist, who wrote his name into the history books, a 15th 9-dart finish in World Championship history. 2 maximums, treble 20, treble 9. 19, double 12, boom, the Palace roof was blown off. However, he then did go on to lose the match because he lost the next 3 straight sets. He does leave, though, with a slice of history, like I say, and 60 grand in his back pocket off the sponsors as a bonus. And then we're into the Ricky Evans match now. Rapid Ricky Evans, because he fizzes his 3 arrows in astonishingly quick succession. He's in a bit of a tussle at the moment with the Aussie Gordon Mathers right now. It's 2 sets apiece, so we're into a decider there.
Tony Livesey's next on 5 Live. I believe this is right up your street.
It is. I love the darts. I've never been to Ali Pali though, Steve. It's a bit. I don't know whether I'm more of a cultured,
Really?
I'd have to be in the balcony if I went, I think.
Oh,
but
come on.
It's my age.
Of course, as a broadcaster, it must make you think of Sid Waddell and all those great. I know people go on about the one where it's like, Alexander the Great had conquered 23. My favourite is when he just came on once and he said, "There's only one word for that. Magic darts."
Hey, I've played John Lowe. Do you know John Lowe? I played him at darts 40 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, I lost, but there's no great story.
Okay.
Yeah, I lost.
No, so that anecdote. I'll be honest, I had everything,
Steve,
Tony.
That's why I'm doing that anecdote on your show and not mine.
Well, it's 10:32, I'm afraid.
This is where all my anecdotes go to die on your show. So how many more do you want?
There is an Alan Partridge line about I am now technically a guest on your programme because it's 10:32. You see,
I could tell you about the belt I had for 30 years and then cried when it snapped. But I mean, I'll tell that another time.
When's that? After 11:30?
Yeah.
Have a good one, Tony.
Thank you. Is it my show now?
I think so.
To you. Thank you, Steve.
Cheers.
Back with James at the Greg. James at the Greg's. Back. That always happens. I say it makes me hungry when I talk about him. Back with James Gregg at the darts very shortly. Right. With loads to come on the show tonight. I think you're going to enjoy it, hopefully. Let's get the latest news, though. First of all, here's Paul Sayers.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you, Tony. The man who led the offensive that toppled the Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad less than 2 weeks ago says Syria is exhausted by war and is not a threat to the West. In his first formal broadcast interview since he took power, Ahmed al-Sharaa told the BBC that sanctions on his country should be lifted. Nearly 60,000 homes in and around Southampton are without water because of a fault at a supply works. Southern Water has apologised to customers but says the problems could last into the final weekend before Christmas. A senior officer in counter-terrorism policing has warned of a smouldering terrorism threat in the UK. Deputy Assistant Commissioner Vicky Evans said 3 attacks have been interrupted in the late stage of planning in the last 12 months. And freight has been rerouted and families have been left to find alternative routes home for Christmas after it was announced that Holyhead Port would be closed until mid-January. The port was damaged by Storm Dara. And in sport, Liverpool, Arsenal and Newcastle are into the semi-finals of the League Cup after victories in their last 8 ties earlier. Premier League leaders Liverpool beat Southampton 2-1 at St Mary's thanks to goals from Darwin Núñez and Harvey Elliott. Arsenal came from a goal down to beat Crystal Palace 3-2 thanks to a hat-trick from Gabriel Jesus. The former Arsenal forward Eddie Nketiah scored a consolation against his former side. And Sandro Tonali scored twice as Newcastle beat Brentford 3-1 at St James's Park. The last of the League Cup quarter-finals takes place tomorrow evening when Tottenham host Manchester United with full commentary here on 5 Live. The newly crowned FIFA Best Women's Player, Aitana Bonmati, was on the score sheet as Barcelona beat Manchester City 3-0 to finish top of their Women's Champions League group. Elsewhere, a late penalty from Mariona Caldente fired Arsenal to a 3-2 win over Bayern Munich, a result that means the Gunners top that group. In Formula 1, Sergio Perez and Red Bull have announced that they are parting ways ahead of next season, 2 years before his contract was due to end. And in darts, as we've just heard from James Gregg at Alexandra Palace, the Dutchman Christian kissed through the first 9 darter at this year's World Championships and the 15th in total, but lost his first round match to the Latvian Madas Razma.
It's the 2 greatest fighters in the world right now.
One thing is his true grit.
What an achievement, what a fighter. The rematch is a big fight. A man who's 6'9", 260 pounds can never be easy.
He showed what a fighter's heart he has.
Fury versus Usyk, the rematch.
Saturday night at 9 p.m.
on BBC Radio 5 Live.
Plus you can hear previews and the build-up to the fight with daily episodes of 5 Live Boxing with me, Steve Bunce, on BBC Sounds.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Call free 08085 909 693. Text 85058. Text will be charged at your standard message rate. Message on WhatsApp 08085 909 693. Visit bbc.co.uk/5live terms for our terms of use and privacy notice.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
The voice of the UK.
Tony Lipsey. Listen on BBC Sounds.